Well, good evening. The meeting of the Committee on Student Achievement and School Innovation of the Board of School Directors will please come to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Director Garcia.
Present.
Director Gokul Gandhi has notified that she may join the meeting late. Director Carr has asked to be excused. Director Leonard
Present.
and Chair Simpson.
Present.
We have 3 committee members present, and we also have President Peterson joining the committee.
Welcome, President Peterson. The chair will now ask the secretary to lead us in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. Members, please mute your devices.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Pursuant to Board Rule 1.06, this meeting is being conducted virtually. Board members may be participating in person from the Central Services Building. In order to allow as much public access and participation as possible, this meeting is being broadcast via live stream on the MPS website and on the MPS YouTube stream, the links to which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes. Esta junta escolar se transmitirá en español para aquellas personas que lo necesiten. Para escuchar esta junta escolar en español, por favor marque el número 312-626-6799. Repito, marque el número 312-626-6799 y ponga el número de identificación o código para esta reunión, que es 608-130-5362. Repito, el número de identificación para esta reunión es 608-130-5362. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you so much. For each of our items of business, we will hold a discussion and public hearing. Individuals who wished to speak on tonight's items were required to register in advance. I ask those of you who are waiting to speak to remain on the platform until you are called upon to speak. Just as a reminder, Robert's Rules of Order indicates that all comments should be directed to the chair of the committee. Also, any questions or requests are to be directed toward the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. All speakers are asked to state their name and spell their last name before proceeding with their comments. Each speaker will have 2 minutes and 15 seconds to speak. After a speaker's time is up, they may continue to follow the meeting at one of the broadcast options mentioned previously. To ensure the good order of the meeting, harassment or intimidation tactics of any kind, including inappropriate language, will not be tolerated. The chair reserves the right to remove anyone engaging in such behavior from the platform. Those removed from the platform may continue to listen to the meeting or access the agenda items online. However, he or she will not be allowed to rejoin the platform. Written testimony may be submitted to the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53201-2181, or fax to 414-475-8071, or email it to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Also, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting the Meetings, Agendas, and Minutes page on the MPS website and choosing Online Agendas. Now, let's begin. Madam Secretary, item number 1.
Item 1 is action on a request to approve a technical amendment to the instrumentality charter school contract with ALBA Inc. for ALBA. The recommendation is that the board approve the technical amendment to the instrumentality charter school contract to ensure grant compliance for ALBA as indicated in the attachment to this item.
Will the administration please present this item?
Yes, Chair Simpson and members of the committee, Keith Posley, Superintendent of Schools. We're requesting your approval on the item for technical amendment for the instrumentality charter contract with Alba. This evening, I have Bridget Schacht with me to report out on the item, and after which we'd be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Bridget.
Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. Bridget Schacht, Director of Contracted School Services. Alba is the recipient of the Charter School Programs Grant, and in March we received a request to amend the contract after DPI conducted a monitoring audit of the charter school. Attached to the item is the red line contract with the amendment required per the terms of the grant. This language reflects that the ownership of items purchased with the grant funds lies with the school. At this time, we can answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? I don't see any at this time. Madam Secretary, is there any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
All right. Is there any further discussion? I see none. We do need a motion on this item. Director Garcia.
I move to accept the proposed amendment.
Thank you,
Proposed whatever. I don't know how wording.
Dr. Mann will fix this up for
Okay.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Garcia. Madam Secretary, please help us with the wording and then call the roll.
On Director Garcia's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the technical amendment to the instrumentality charter school contract with ALPA. On the motion as read into the record, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Leonard,
Aye.
and Chair Simpson.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you. I'm sorry, that was your part. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 2, action on a request to approve a technical amendment to approve technical amendments to the instrumentality charter school contract with Green Tree Preparatory Academy, Inc. for Green Tree Preparatory Academy. The recommendation is that the board approve the technical amendments to the instrumentality charter school contract to ensure grant compliance with the Green Tree Preparatory Academy, Inc. or Green Tree Preparatory Academy as indicated in the attachments to this item.
Thank you. Will the administration please present this item?
Yes, Chair Simpson and members of the committee, we're requesting your approval on this item for technical amendment to the instrumentality charter contract with Green Tree Preparatory Academy. This evening, I have with me Bridget Schacht, and Bridget will report out on this item, and after which we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Bridget.
Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. Bridget Schacht, Director of Contracted School Services. Green Tree is also the recipient of the Wisconsin Charter School Programs Grant. In March, we received the request to amend the contract after DPI conducted a monitoring audit of the charter school. Attached to this item is the red line contract with the amendment required per the terms of this grant. This language reflects the ownership of the items purchased with the grant funds lies with the school. At this time, we can answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Seeing none. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you. What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director Leonard.
I move that we accept the technical amendments to the amendment for Green Tree Preparatory School.
Thank you so much, Director Leonard. Is there any further discussion? I don't see any. Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Leonard's motion to approve the technical amendments to the instrumentality charter school contract with Green Tree Preparatory Academy, Inc. for Green Tree Preparatory Academy, which is the administration's recommendation. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Leonard
Aye.
and Chair Simpson.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Great. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 3, action on a request to amend the non-instrumentality charter school contract with Milwaukee Excellence, Inc. for Milwaukee Excellence Charter School. The recommendation is that the board approve the amendments to the non-instrumentality charter school contract to reflect a change in location and school leader with the Milwaukee Excellence, Inc. for the Milwaukee Excellence Charter School.
Will the administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, we're requesting your approval of this item for a technical amendment for the instrumentality charter contract with Milwaukee Excellent, Inc. I have Bridget Schacht here with me this afternoon, and after she report out, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Bridget?
Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. Bridget Schacht, Director of Contract and School Services. This is a simple amendment to the contract to align with the lease agreement for the Happy Hill location for the high school programming for Milwaukee Excellence that was approved by the board. And then also the leader there, Rodney Link, is no longer the interim, so we struck that little language out of the contract. At this time, we can answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? I see no hands at this time. Madam Secretary, is there any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request to speak on this item.
Thank you. What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director Leonard.
I move that we accept the changes to the contract and accept the that are set up by the administration for Milwaukee Excellence.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? And seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Leonard's motion to approve the administration's recommendation to accept and amend the changes relative to the non-instrumentality charter school contract with Milwaukee Excellence, Inc. for Milwaukee Excellence Charter School. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Leonard,
Aye.
Chair Simpson.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
All right, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 4, which is action on the approval of the cost of living adjustment application and quality improvement funding application for FY22. And this is for Head Start. The recommendation is that the board approve the submission of the 2022-23 Head Start application as set forth in the attachments to this item.
Thank you. Will administration please present this item?
Yes. Chair Simpson and members of the committee, we are asking for your approval of the Head Start's federal cost of living adjustment, better known as COLA, and for the quality improvement funding application. I'm going to ask Joanne Williams to provide some additional information on this item, and after which we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Joanne.
Thank you, Dr. Posley. Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. I am Joanne D. Williams, Head Start Program Supervisor. Tonight, I am happy to bring forward to you the action item that is a cost of living adjustment application known as COLA and the quality improvement funding application from the Administration for Children and Families, Office of Head Start for approval. The cost of living adjustment is provided to the Head Start program yearly. This COLA application supports a 2.28% increase in salaries and benefits for the FY22 budget period. The COLA application is a total of $255,000 with $253. It will be applied to all program staff. The quality improvement application is a total of $78,000 with $377, with a total of, with both grants, $333,000 with $630. A portion of the increase provides a cost of living adjustment COLA of the 2.28% to assist all Head Start grantees to increase staff salaries and fringe benefits or in offsetting higher operating costs. Quality improvement funding is allocated proportionately based on federal funded enrollment, with additional consideration given to small grantees to allow for meaningful investments as permitted by the Act. Awarded funds will be applied to as follows: raises awarded to Head Start staff awarded in the 22-23 school year, increases to fringe benefit rate for the last school year, increases in operational costs in the last school year, and then help better incorporate a trauma-informed approach that will support children and families and staff impacted by adverse experiences. The Milwaukee Public Schools Head Start Policy Council approved the submission of the application on May 19, 2022, and the full application was submitted on June 1st, 2022. As of today, we haven't received a decision on this award, but we'll be happy to report to the board when a decision letter arrives. At this time, we're able to answer any questions that you may have regarding this application.
Thank you so much. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Don't see any hands yet. Madam Secretary, is there any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Great. I see Mr. Chasen pop on. Mr. Chasen, do you have a comment?
Thank you, Chair Simpson. Matt Chase, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. With the application have already been submitted, what specifically is the board's action here in terms of approving the application if it's already been submitted in the first place?
Administration.
Chair Simpson and Mr. Chasen, part of the application is to have board certifications that needs to be submitted with this application. Seeing that the timeline was very quick and short, they allowed us to be able to submit without board certifications. And upon this meeting, we'll submit.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much for that clarification. I appreciate it. What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director Garcia.
I move to accept the item as presented by administration.
Great, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Garcia's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the COLA application and the QIF application for Head Start FY22. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
And Chair Simpson.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Great. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 5, which is a report on Resolution 2122R-004 and action on recommendations of the Middle School and High School Steering Committee. The recommendation is that the board accept the recommendations as presented in the PowerPoint presentation attached to this item for implementation during the 22-23 school year.
Will the administration please present this item?
Yes, Chair Simpson and members of the committee, we're requesting your approval of the recommendations before you regarding Resolution 2122R-004 on the Middle and High School Steering Committee. This evening, I have Dr. Melanie Stewart, better known as Dr. Mail, to present this item. Following the presentation, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Dr. Mail.
Good evening, Director Simpson, members of the committee. It's my pleasure to present this presentation of the work of the Middle and High School Steering Committee on Resolution 2122R-004. The work that the committee did aligns very strongly with looking at our increased academic achievement, accountability, and also strengthening communication and collaboration. The process that we took, we began with a work group that met in October, November, and December. We shared that work with you in January of this year, and that team was 56 members, and they created many recommendations and suggestions. A steering committee out of that group was developed, and we met every other week from January to early May of this year. Recommendations that we will present tonight were developed to address equity and access to select criteria schools. This committee had 16 members, was racially diverse, included school personnel, teachers and administration, central office administration, parents, MTA, and a board member. The work of the steering committee was to review the recommendations of the larger work group. We also reviewed a very wide range of data, and we developed recommendations both on the process and the criteria for select criteria schools. To begin our finding, in recent years, selective high schools in New York, Boston, San Francisco, and other cities across the nation have faced scrutiny for underrepresenting Black and Hispanic students in their processes. These inequities have been shaped by policies that included heavy weighting on a single entrance examination, or a single standardized test, opaque application procedures, and requiring parents to provide transportation to testing sites. In contrast, what we found as we are looking at our process, the racial composition of the selective criteria schools within Milwaukee Public Schools comes close to representing the racial demographics of the high schools in general. Policies that have influenced this outcome include basing acceptance on multiple criteria, not single criteria, transparency on how to apply to these schools, and also having it equitable that no transportation is necessary for students to travel to site, but we brought any testing that was required to all students so they could do it in their home school. The chart on this slide gives us a little bit of a picture of looking at select criteria schools versus the district. And this is current data as of May 2022. So at the bottom of the chart, you can see the district demographics of race and ethnicity for grades 9 through 12, and then each of the current select criteria schools. Are they exact? No, but I think you will see there are many that are far closer to the district than what was expected. Additionally, our findings were that, in short, our work group is providing recommendations to make a relatively fair process for admission to our select criteria schools even fairer. In addition, we note that our select criteria schools do not get a disproportionate amount of funding and are expected to enroll the district average of special needs students. We also found that we see no reason for terminating selective criteria schools on grounds of equity. And we believe that termination of select criteria process would actually cause a further drain of students from MPS with serious consequences for district-wide equity. So here are our recommendations. The team has recommended that all high schools have the same enrollment window in the fall, just not select criteria schools, all high schools. We also are recommending that the process be simplified so families only need to list their choices for high schools for the next year. Families would then be able to choose 5 schools. Further recommendations is that the district will improve communication both within and outside of the district about the strengths and special programs of all of our high schools. Additionally, academic career planning will be further embedded into all middle grade classes. We are additionally recommending that the change in the weight of criteria is to emphasize long-term student effort, such as attendance and schoolwork. We are augmenting this also that in our report card comments that are being developed, this will help us not only provide students, but their family, not only with marks, but also with guidance on how students can be improving where they stand and how they can improve their performance from grading period to grading period. This will be emphasized more than any point in time assessment, which would be standardized tests and the essay. We are also recommending that additional criteria, specifically the completion of MYP for King and Reagan, letters of recommendation for Golda, and the geography preference for Riverside be eliminated. We are recommending that auditions should be required for enrollment at Milwaukee High School of the Arts so that they can better program for all students entering the school. We recommend to continue the practice of enrolling students in order of the highest number of criteria points. We want to continue the sibling preference of assigning 1 extra point for siblings when we are determining the waiting list. There was an additional document in the board packet that does a comparison of current criteria to our proposed criteria. Finally, we ask also that we continue the requirement of the goal of 20% of seats be filled with students with disabilities. The committee also, at the end of our work, wanted to put together an equity summary. This quote is about the districts from the Brookings Institute article, and the link is listed below. In their report, this is prior to any changes, the select criteria schools of Milwaukee are more reflective of the demographic makeup of the overall district than in most other cities. This may be due to an admission process that is more well-rounded. Despite the increased representation, however, Milwaukee schools, select criteria schools included, produce some of the most significant racial and socioeconomic achievement gaps in the U.S. Continuing with our equity summary, we believe that it is more equitable that all high schools have the same enrollment window. Additionally, the district should make an intentional effort to increase visibility of all high schools and their special programs and classes. We also believe by changing the weight of criteria to emphasize these long-term student efforts, attendance and schoolwork, more than the point-in-time assessment, standardized test, and essay will increase equity. We also believe that if we increase the emphasis in middle grades on academic career planning, this will help students focus on the next steps in their academic journey. Additional schools may become select criteria schools if more students choose a particular school than available seats. Future action. There is a request that the administration monitor the implementation of these changes proposed and report back to you, the school board, in May of 2023 during that board cycle to address any problems that may have occurred. We also ask that the administration will address equity issues in the high schools to raise academic outcomes of all students in all schools. I thank you for your time and will be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much for that presentation. If it's okay with committee members, I'd like to check in to see if there's any public comment on this item. That's all
Yes,
right.
Madam Chair, we have 2 people registered, but only 1 person on the platform registered to speak on this item. Would you like to go to public testimony?
Sure. And then if the other person shows up, just pop in and let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the platform, we have Allison Gipp. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
My name is Allison Gipp, G-I-P-P. Thank you, board, for allowing us to speak and listen tonight. My name is Allison Gipp, and I'm a special education teacher at Audubon High School. Audubon is a great high school, and I'm proud to work with staff, students, and families. I'm asking the board to reinstate Audubon High School to select criteria status for early enrollment. Audubon did have this in the past with a portfolio requirement, but it was taken away by the district. MPS has stated that more high schools can become select criteria schools if more students choose a school than available seats. Audubon has had a waiting list at every grade since it began 14 years ago. Families have been pleading with our principal to let them join our community. My second concern I want you to hear and understand tonight is that our students deserve equity when it comes to their educational opportunities. Our school has a special education population of 36%. The district average is 21%. Our incoming freshman class for next year will have 55 out of 149 students with IEPs. That is a 39% special education. Our special education department is great, but this increase year after year is putting an incredible strain on our staff, which we all know will affect students and our ability to give each student personal attention. District personnel have stated that because we are not a select criteria school, special education students are not capped. And so anyone who applies in early selection with Audubon as their first choice gets in, without regard for special education or ELL needs. We need select criteria reinstated for Audubon High School so we continue to be a great small school where we can address the needs of all students. Please support us in voting to reinstate a technology portfolio. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Leonard.
Yeah, I have some questions. I have some comments. I actually want to speak very quickly to the well, no, I'll stay organized. Sorry. So first of all, my first concern has to do with that when I look at I believe it was on page 8, but I'm not sure. We're looking at that special education percentage. And I only see two of our high schools that come close to that 20%. That's the Milwaukee High School of the Arts and Riverside. And it's just more of a comment, but I guess my question is, are we trying to change that condition at the other high schools? What's the process in doing that? So that's my first question.
Administration.
Director Simpson, Director Leonard, members of the committee, Mel Stewart, Director of Research Assessment and Data. Yes, this part of the lower numbers are based on the number of students that applied. And in many cases, every special ed student that applied were accepted at these schools. But during the work of the committee, and we think as we broaden the application process, that this will increase the numbers of students applying to each of these schools.
That
Director
makes
Leonard.
sorry, that makes
No.
sense. Then I'm going to, and I'm not saying you're going to be doing this, but I'm assuming that if Audubon were put into that select criteria status, that would assist their school in reducing or not overwhelming them with that special education population, because that's an extremely high population number, 36%. That can be very overwhelming for a school. Audubon is doing a great job with what they have, but I'm making sort of a jump on this. I'm assuming this.
Administration.
Director Simpson, Director Leonard, members of the committee, Melanie Stewart, Director of Research Assessment and Data. We'll be glad to look at the numbers. Again, as we said, if there are more students applying to seats than there are some other factors that I'm not certain about without having additional information that we can get for you at a later date. Special programs at the school, et cetera, that I'm not prepared to without some further knowledge, but we can get back to you on that. And so again, if there's more interest than there are seats, then schools may be part of this process.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to ask you to look at it seriously. I think that that's a worthwhile request from Audubon. Obviously, I'm a little biased. I won't lie. Okay. The other thing is, and I do have to agree with the committee's findings. I do believe that we cannot afford to get rid of the select criteria process. I didn't believe we were looking at that, although I have heard the complaints before from other people in the community, but they are well worth our schools. We need our select criteria schools, so I would not ever support just getting rid of the process and going back to the way it used to be. I don't think that's the route to go. I will just speak from personal experience, and I hope that you can make the shifts. I remember working with middle school students for umpteen million years, and I do remember that the process of getting them to the select criteria schools was very cumbersome, and those schools that had much higher economic disadvantaged students were always the ones that rarely felt that they should even apply for those schools. They felt there was no chance for them to get in there. And I'm not sure how you plan on changing that, what's your ideas on that. I heard that you've got something in the works with that, and it's good to hear, but I do want to take note of that.
Thank you, Director Leonard. Administration, do you have a response?
Simpson, Director Leonard, members of the committee, absolutely. We should not sway children away from where they believe that they want to go, and they should all have the opportunity. Part of that is looking at some of the recommendations we've made about changing the process, so everyone is involved for selection of schools at the same time. Looking at those academic career planning courses, looking at the performance of all students across the entire district, but also making all people aware of all of the marvelous programs that we have across the district as well.
Yep.
So that it is not just focusing on a few, but at all schools, and doing more to help promote what's available to all children. And that includes application to our select criteria schools.
Director Leonard.
That's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Director Garcia.
Yes, my question is more for in point of information. Can you just walk us through or just elaborate a little bit in regards to what is the current process for schools that are select criteria? I know we heard in testimony of someone that representing a school that would like to get back into the fold of select criteria school. So what does it look like for a school to, be on this list of select criteria?
Administration.
Director Simpson, Director Garcia, members of the committee. We actually spent a lot of time studying the history of select criteria, and there have been many changes over many years. We look back into the 1990s, moving forward. In the last several years, it has been isolated to 5 schools, the 5 schools that are current. That was part of the committee's work, and that is why one of the recommendations that we took from the 1990s is that many schools were part of the process because they had more interest in the school than there were seats, and then they were able to be part. But currently, we will be able to collect all of the data on all children, so there will not be an extra burden. All children participate in the on-demand essay. We'll have report cards, we'll have attendance, we'll have state testing. We have that on everyone. So we will be able to use that because it will already be collected this summer.
Director Garcia?
Yes, so just a quick follow-up. So using that, I guess, like criteria in regards to if there's a school that has more demand than seats available, that's one of the indicators that, okay, maybe we should consider making this a select criteria school. And we've had 5 schools, it sounds, for the past 30 years. So I'm just wondering, as we're collecting data, is there any other schools that would fit this criteria? Are we, what is the, I guess, like the expansion of this looking like down the road?
Administration.
Director Simpson, Director Garcia, members of the committee. That one is a little difficult. These schools have not been select criteria for 30 years. There have been many changes over many years, and very different schools have been in the process. I would say for maybe the last 10 years, maybe a little bit longer. I think one of the things is we want to open up the possibility, and by advertising all schools, we hope to make more people aware of all of the wonderful programs that we have available for children throughout the district. All students applying to their schools all at the same time. And the more communication that goes out to parents that this is an opportunity, we will see. It's difficult after coming out of the pandemic to know how large of a magnitude we are going to have, but we are sincerely hoping to see just more engagement with all eighth grade families throughout the district being part of this process.
Director Garcia.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Peterson.
Thank you. I was the board member who served on this committee, some of you know, and I just first of all want to thank Dr. Mel for the stellar work that she did. She provided an immense amount of data, which I think will be useful actually as this strategic planning takes place. I won't go into the lists of different information, but we requested a lot, and it was very useful. It's also very sobering because our students in all the schools, including the select criteria schools, are not, many of them are not doing as well as we think they should be doing, I'll put it that way. And we as educators have, and the board and the administration and our entire staff and MPS have a lot of work to do. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I just want to mention that I know, like, my daughter went to a select criteria school, Riverside, and one thing that was clear back then, and this is just an example of how it privileged certain families, is she had to take the essay at Riverside. She had to go there, and if obviously we have a car, we had the time to get her there, and so on and so forth. But parents who didn't have that were disadvantaged, and that's just one example of. Now that was fixed a couple of years ago, but I feel that what we've also done with this changes here is we've really put the weight of the criteria on the student, in the sense that they have the capacity to attend school and to do better at school, versus just a one shot. Here's a standardized test, or here is the one essay you have to do, and if you don't get the prompt for the essay, if you can't connect with that, that's it. And so we lowered the number of points that those two items count, and we raised the points for by attendance. We kept the same, there's 3 points, but raised the points for classroom work. And we really, a strong push, as I'm being a little repetitive, but just to remind people, a strong push that at the middle school level, there will be continued conversation with the kids about their career planning or school planning, and as they move forward in their lives. The other thing I'll just say is, in terms of the particular, at this point, we eliminated also some items that we felt that up to recently still privilege certain students in terms of letters of recommendation, and so on and so forth. So we cut that. And so I would say the one thing about that I'm thinking in terms of the conversation that has been held in terms of Audubon is that we'd have to look at, our generally tendency is that every school would have relatively similar criteria. And with the one exception being the art school, that they have the same criteria, but they also have to do exhibition, a performance or a indication of what they want, what art form they want to participate in. So, so I agree with Dr. Mel that we'd have to look at any recommendation from a school to figure out how they fit with the general criteria. The other thing I just want to mention is in terms of this students with special needs. My understanding of what we decided was that as like a school that has only 10 or 15% now, when they get their applications, their goal is to have 20% of those applications be students with special needs. And so that low mark that Director Leonard mentioned on a couple of schools will increase. The goal, of course, is to have at least the average of this of the city, the district special education program. So needless to say, I encourage people to vote in favor of this. I think it's a good step, but I also agree that it's a necessary step both to keep the program going, but to expand the fact that we for many years have had the select criteria schools being in the fall, and then early quick parents. These are the schools to get into, and then all the other schools were deemed, inferred to be less than. That if you don't get into those, you can get into these others, in January and February. So I think that's a really big change. It's going to be important. And as Dr. Mel talked about, there are good programs and some very exclusive programs in some of our high schools that parents don't even know about. And so those, I think hopefully it will help equalize some of things within our district as well. Talked enough. Thank you very much for letting me talk about this. It's again, I want to thank Dr. Mel plus the other members of the staff and parents and others who participate.
Thank you so much, Director Peterson. Appreciate that. I would just like to pass the gavel for just a very quick moment to Director Leonard.
So noted.
Thank you, Director Leonard. So Mike, one of the things that Director Leonard actually brought up was sort of the difference in the socioeconomic levels of the students who are choosing the select criteria, and whether or not everybody feels like they sort of have the right kind of to apply to them. And I was just wondering if it isn't available tonight, if just board members could be sent sort of that same, similar comparison, like what's the socioeconomic status of the students in the school, the select criteria schools compared to the district, just for future reference, as this will be coming back to us. Maybe important information to look at.
Administration.
Director Seamson, members of the committee, absolutely. We have that data that we can share with you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I guess, the only other thing I don't know, just a question in terms of, promoting all of our schools. Do we have, is there something we're going to do different, or do we feel like just offering them all at the same time, kind of equalizing that piece of it? Will that be enough to draw attention to some of the other schools?
Administration.
Director Seamson, members of the committee, we provided many recommendations of specific nature, including more communications, videos. There will be was a recommendation to have multiple open houses, to make certain that more promotional material is available at schools. And so we had all sorts of ideas of how to support this. So once these recommendations are passed, then we go to work to help make certain these things happen. We know the academic career planning components are already in action. And so as we come to the fall, looking at more communications, what I will say also is that Mr. Boswell and his team have stayed partners throughout this entire process. And so we've, internally been sharing and know what we need to do next.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, we have so many great things happening that go unnoticed. So to highlight those as much as possible, I appreciate that. Thank you. And with that, I'll take the gavel back. Thank you, Director Leonard. What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director Leonard.
I move that we accept the recommendations of the Middle School and High School Steering Committee.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Madam Chair, just for clarity, is Director Leonard's motion to accept the recommendations as laid out by the administration in the attached PowerPoint?
Director Leonard?
Yes.
So noted.
Now, is there any further discussion on that? I just want to make sure everybody's clear before we take roll call. Looks like we're good. Okay, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Leonard's motion to approve the administration's recommendations relative to Resolution 2122R-004 and approve the recommendations of the middle school and high school steering committees as outlined in the PowerPoint presentation and submitted by the administration and the attachments to this item. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
And Chair Simpson.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Next item, please.
The next item is item 6, which is a report with possible action regarding the Climate Justice Curriculum Advisory Committee and the District Sustainability Team. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Will administration please present this item?
This item is a report related to the Climate Justice Curriculum Advisory Committee and the District Sustainability Team. The team is here with me this evening to walk us through the report and provide updates. Following the presentation, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I will now turn it over to our team, and Rochelle Zandering will start us off. Rochelle.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. The Curriculum Advisory Committee meetings are on hold for now as we learned a climate justice instructional coach position has been posted and is scheduled to begin with the start of the 2022-2023 school year. Once someone is hired to fill that position, the science curriculum specialist will work with that person to create a meeting schedule and outline goals for year one work in that position. Additional support for further curriculum work with the climate justice resolution came from support from a graduate program at Marquette. A recommendation report was issued that confirms we are on track with Portland, which is the only similar district currently doing this work, and suggestions were provided to keep the work sustainable and to move forward with implementation based on lessons learned in the work in Portland. The report will be used in planning with the new climate justice instructional coach to outline the year one goals for the position. I will now pass it along to Heather Dietzel.
Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, Dr. Posley. Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. My name is Heather Dietzel, Sustainability Project Specialist. District Sustainability Team's meetings have resumed. The team has taken the climate justice resolution and analyzed it by section. We chose to focus first on creating a baseline study of the district's ecological footprint, which will later become a part of the Sustainability Action Plan. Over the past quarter, collaboration has been an important part of our work. We also collaborated with Marquette graduate students who conducted some key research on our behalf. 4 members of our team were sponsored by the Children in Nature Network to attend their conference last month in Atlanta, Georgia. And sustainability directors across the city gathered in an important meeting to share ideas and progress on their prospective action plans. The Green Schoolyard redevelopment projects have replaced such a large amount of asphalt with grass, bioswales, and other stormwater management infrastructure that we are now able to petition the Department of Public Works to reduce our stormwater utility bills. This cost savings is a key first step towards developing a green revolving fund to fund more green infrastructure projects. 5 more green schoolyard projects break ground this month, and they include Franklin, Hawthorne, Hayes, Niskara, and Zablocki. And our final update is some great news for North Division High School. Their Green Schoolyard redevelopment was chosen to be recognized at the 2022 Mayor's Design Awards this year. Mayor Johnson honored the MPS teams, designers, and contractors at the awards ceremony last month. This concludes our report, and we'd be happy to take any questions.
Sorry, I couldn't get that unmute button to. Thank you so much for that update. Do committee members have any questions or comments? And I see Director Peterson.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to thank the two representatives that were reporting today. I know they've been working hard on the tasks that were outlined in the ambitious climate justice resolution that was passed by this board. I also want to take note that there is this opening, the climate justice educator, instructional coach, and I encourage teachers who are interested and passionate about this to consider applying for that job at the 200-day position. And I think it's essential that we find somebody that has a passion to promote that. I think also there is going to be another sustainability person added to the facilities and maintenance department soon that we passed the funding for, and that too will help us move forward. And finally, I'd say if anybody's interested in the details of what the Marquette students found, these are graduate students from Marquette who had as a final project under the teaching of Dr. Cynthia Elwood to come up with, to investigate a pedagogical or a school problem, and then come up with examples of where elsewhere in the country they've solved or are working on this problem. In both cases, the report's quite enlightening, and it looks. One of the reports said, if we keep up our work, if we continue what our plan is, we could be one of the few outstanding districts in the country dealing with this vital issue. And when we talk about teaching in the future, we always talk about our children, and certainly part of us helping to prepare our children and our students for the future is for us to teach them about climate issues, but for us also personally, whether on the board, teachers, administration, or other elected officials, to really not think that, to understand that we have to take aggressive action and be consistent in promoting these new policies, because that's really going to affect the lives of our grandchildren and our and others. So again, thank you, and I look forward to continuing to help with that work.
Thank you, Director Peterson. Yes, very important for our children and our students to see that work happening. Great impact. Do other committee members wish to speak or ask questions? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, is there any public comment on this item?
Just wanted to double check. Madam Chair, there's no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you so much, Madam Secretary. Is there any further discussion? All right. Thank you so much for that report. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 7, which is a report with possible action regarding Black Lives Matter end of the year report for 2022. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Will administration please present this item?
This evening, we have our end of the year report regarding Black Lives Matter. I have with me Felice Beal and Dr. Tony Deakins to present this item. Following the presentation, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Felice?
Director Simpson and members of the committee, my name is Felice Beal, Instructional Leadership Director for Central Region, Office of School Administration. Today's presentation will provide you with the 21-22 Black Lives Matter Year in Review, along with timeline of next steps for the 22-23 school year. The development of Black Lives Matter initiative is a critical component to all of the 5 priorities of success. This year, we have strengthened communication and collaboration by collaborating with curriculum and instruction department, school leaders, school support teachers, committee partners, community constituents, partners, and community schools. We will continue and have work to connect with members of the core committees this year. This is an ongoing process. Our committees continue to evolve and increase as requests are received for participation. Our core committees continue working towards the 21-22 school goals outlined for this school year, and we will review the successes and highlight some of the enhancements that each subcommittee created for the next school year. This year, as you see, our subcommittees work towards developing each area guided by the goals established for this school year. For curriculum and professional development, successes include the creation and piloting of the Racial Equity Questionnaire, Parts 1 and 2. This questionnaire was piloted with approximately 160 staff members from the Office of Academics. Ongoing staff development occurred involving Dr. Golden Muhammad, her framework for culturally responsive teaching with the Department of Academics. Consistency of shared information during principal leadership institutes, school support teacher and assistant principal, and special education supervisors at the Dean Institute. Week of Action successes, we developed Week of Action activities that occurred virtually this year. Community participants, students, staff participated and highlighted the Black Lives Matter principles. We were delighted this year that student participants ranged from 6th grade to high school. They participated and engaged with panelists and were facilitators during each nightly event. For monthly activities, we continue to provide activities aligned to the 13 principles of Black Lives Matter. This school year, we took the feedback from leaders and school teams to ensure schools receive the activity information 2 months in advance. Resource information was also provided to support background knowledge, content development, and understanding. Based on the feedback and suggestions for development and improvement, we have outlined the following enhancements that will take place in each subcommittee. These include for curriculum and instruction, for curriculum and professional development, to analyze pilot data from the Racial Equity Questionnaire, establish a time to distribute the Racial Equity Questionnaire to all MPS staff, and integrate specialist training into district-wide professional development and collaborate with monthly activities committee. For the Week of Action, they want to establish in-person experiences for our students, and also for monthly activities, work in conjunction with the curriculum and instruction department to enhance the academic alignment and rigor of activities. To also add field trip experiences to extend learning.
Chair Stevenson and members of the committee, my name is Dr. Tony Dinkins, Regional Superintendent for the East Region. On slide 5 here, you can see our areas of engagement planned for the 2022-23 school year. These areas include extending and making more community connections, increasing partnerships that will enhance the Black Lives Matter initiative, and to continue to align the work to the goals and priorities of the district. Next steps for the Curriculum and Professional Development Committee include a timeline of expected outcomes for the months of June, July, and August. In June, the Racial Equity Questionnaire results will be reviewed and we will make recommendations and receive the information to make the recommendations on the questionnaire. In July, we will identify learning management system, courses, and course topics. We will also plan curriculum connections and content standards aligned to the monthly activity. August will be used to finalize the work so that we are ready to implement for the 2022-23 school year. Next steps for the Week of Action Committee include a timeline of expected outcomes for the months of June, July, and August again. In June, we plan to identify roles and responsibilities for each committee member. In July, we will establish the student T-shirt contest rules and information for advertisement. And in August, we will develop ideas to showcase student submission via all media platforms. Next steps for the monthly activities committee also include a timeline of expected outcomes for the months of June, July, and August. In June, we will update the monthly themes and activities aligned with the Curriculum and Professional Development Committee. In July, the committee will work on the development of an in-person student showcase, identifying dates, times, and a location for that venue. And in August, we will finalize monthly activities for September, October, and November and distribute to staff by the start of the school year.
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, this concludes our update and information regarding next steps, and we're open to any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you so much for that report. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Leonard.
There's no questions. I'm actually rather impressed by the significant changes and progress we're seeing happening with this department, with this organization, and I'm thrilled for it. I'm really excited about it. I'm looking forward to seeing what will happen. I had the opportunity to talk to quite a few of the people from your offices yesterday. We had some great conversations. And the one thing that I did notice that was just, I think, well worth mentioning is that I've noticed actually a coordinated vision and set of actions. Everybody's on the same page. And to me, that's always going in the right direction. That is the initial plan that you have to make something work. So anyway, thank you, and keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Director Leonard. Administration, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, thank you for those kind words, and we'll continue to keep moving forward with the work.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, is there any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, yes, very exciting to see this work grow and expand over time. So wonderful report. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Item 8 is report with possible action regarding bilingual education and the District Multicultural Multilingual Advisory Council. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Thank you. Will administration please present the item?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, we are pleased to share our end of the year report of the 2021-22 Bilingual Education and District Multicultural Multilingual Advisory Council, also known as DMAC. This evening, I have with me the DMAC team to present on this item. Following the presentation, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Eduardo Gavan, who will lead us through the presentation. And we also have Lorena Gamey here with us as well. Mr. Gavan.
Thank you, Dr. Posley, Chair Simpson, members of the committee. And again, I'm Eduardo Galvan, Regional Superintendent of the Southwest Region. Tonight, we will give our quarterly report and summary report on the work done by Bilingual Multicultural Education Department and DMAC, the District Multicultural Multilingual Advisory Committee. With me today, as Dr. Posley mentioned, is Lorena Gamey, Director of BME. And joining us virtually will be Dr. Tatiana Joseph, LTE lead for DMAC. Today, we are happy to share some of the many successes we have had this year and plans for moving forward. The work done by the Department of Bilingual Multicultural Education and District Multicultural Multilingual Advisory Committee supports all 5 of the district's 5 priorities for success, with a particular focus on the first 3 priorities: increase academic achievement and accountability, improve district and school culture, and developing our staff. Again, this slide shows the demographics for our bilingual schools for this year. Again, current students are 13,362 spread across 21 schools. 38.3% of those are considered English language learners, 23.5% are special education, and 85.1 fall into the economically disadvantaged category. This number of 13,362 represents an increase of 52 students since our last report. Of those 13,362, that 38 translate to approximately 5,118, which are considered English language learners. As compared to last year's percentage of students who are ELLs in the June report of last year, our percentage this year has gone up to 38.3 from 36.4 in last June's end of the year presentation. And the specific demographic breakdowns are shown there, represented by the bars. Again, this is the mission and vision that the Bilingual Multicultural Education Department has developed to support their work around our English language learners. The mission is to provide equitable access to quality, multilingual, and multicultural programming in Milwaukee Public Schools, with the vision that MPS students graduate with strong cultural and linguistic identities, leveraging these assets to navigate college, career, and life as global citizens in an inclusive society. Today, we will be discussing our programming, our parent engagement and marketing, again, DMAC, Seal of Biliteracy, and professional development to all schools. To begin with, in terms of parent engagement, that is accomplished in many ways, beginning with student enrollment. BME works with student services to help parents select the school that is best for their child's needs, including their language needs. In previous board presentations, we shared videos that the department has developed so that parents have a better understanding, and also when they're making those selection processes. BME has also been present at all recruitment activities for staff and students that the district has offered, such as the kindergarten enrollment fair. They were present both virtually and in person at South Division. And in addition, the BME has worked with communications to develop print materials specifically for our language schools and programs to inform parents and community about our wonderful language opportunities. We also had the pleasure, or BME had the pleasure to be present and support the Refugee and Immigrant Family Community Resource Fair, where over 100 people were in attendance. Dr. Joseph, as I mentioned earlier, will give an overview of DMAC since our last report, and we'll share information, as I stated earlier, regarding the Seal of Biliteracy and the work done. At this point, Lorena will give some of those programmatic updates.
Thank you, Mr. Galvan. Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. Lorena Jenny, Director, Department of Bilingual Multicultural Education. The Department of Bilingual Multicultural Education is excited to continuously share updates on the Biliteracy Year at a Glance, which strategically maps out literacy, science, and social studies units in Spanish and English, grades K5 through 8, in accordance with the MPS Content and Language Allocation Plan. The Content and Language Allocation Plan delineates the language that each content area is primarily taught in for every grade K-12. Explicit instruction and formative practices based on grade level standards using Arriba la Lectura and Galería de Lengua y Cultura, adapted resources are detailed in the corresponding integrated biliteracy units, which continue to be written, revised throughout the school year. Bilingual teachers have regular opportunities to explore these resources during professional development sessions, as well as in one-on-one planning sessions. The bilingual team sought input from the science team and the Biliteracy Year at a Glance and collaborated with science to include links to biliteracy support and district science instructional guides. We continue to support social studies with the textbook adoption and the Big History Project. The bilingual team works extensively with the Montessori coordinator to develop curricular or instructional support as appropriate for Riley dual language Montessori and to support Riley DL teachers with professional development and work sessions throughout the school year. To Ms. Evans, the bilingual team has supported bilingual and Spanish choices for MPS reads, as well as attended guided reading training. In collaboration with CNI, professional development around culturally responsive teaching and identity was developed and presented at Leadership Institute. Supported STMath implementation and coaching. Additionally, the bilingual team has provided PD about ambitious instruction and accelerated learning through the lens of bilingual education at Leadership Institute as well. We work with early childhood and mathematics representatives to vet and secure online resources to be used district-wide with ESSER funds. A series of PD sessions specific to new bilingual teachers was provided throughout the school year. Bilingual teacher leaders will be working with grade level groups of teachers to write a week at a glance document for the first trimester Science by Literacy unit. The bilingual team is also looking to complete a foundational skill scope and sequence specific to bilingual learners. These documents will serve to guide teachers in the teaching of Spanish and English foundational skills. It would help teachers weave English foundational skills into their instruction in a developmental appropriate order. The inventory of reading skills and standards include cross-references, English and Spanish materials, and Arriba la Lectura, into reading and into literature to make sure we avoid any gaps. The bilingual team will continue to work with the Montessori coordinator and Riley administration to strengthen the DL Montessori program as well. I'll continue with the accomplishments and next step for the ESL program. In the area of ESL, of English as a second language, recently completed 6 hours of training on the Wisconsin Refugee Program database, which is the system that will be used to report qualifying youth for summer services through the Refugee Impact and Refugee Youth Mentoring Grants. The system is essential because it will place MPS in greater communication with other agencies and the state that serve the same MPS families. The Astoria School participated in the English Language Development Pilot Program and approach, which means that 25 staff members that included teachers, administration, school support teachers, and support staff receive ongoing professional development. A total of 51-hour sessions had an intense focus on the English language development standards and how to use them in practice. Now we are in the process of analyzing both sessions based on cumulative outcomes and feedback from the professional development to determine impact. And we're excited about what the informal review has shown, such as high attendance across the 5 sessions and participant feedback that include a desire to continue with the PD next year. In addition, the ESL staff provided professional development at the listed institute, school-based and during specialized sessions for ESL teachers, secretaries, school psychologists, and aspiring school psychologists from Eau Claire and La Crosse. The topics of the professional development included the English language development standards, identification and screening of English learners, how to use the new ESL curriculum with small groups of students, and strategies to engage English learners in different learning environments. The Milwaukee Public Art Museum also hosted ESL at the museum to address 20 docents and strategies to enhance the field trip experience to the museum for English learning students. The team experts to return, the team are expected to return to provide additional follow-up support, such as shadowing a docent to experience a tutor to make additional recommendations. And our world language and immersion team continuously support our teachers with the utilization of the world language curriculum map, lesson plan template to provide clear consistency and leveled language instruction across the district. Mango Languages was implemented throughout the district. There were 9 PDs provided to world languages and ESL teachers. There was also PD given at leadership, SST, and parent coordinators institutes. This year, we graduated 66 students with the seal of biliteracy from the following schools: Bradley Tech, 5, Golda 7, Hamilton 3, MHSA 5, MSOL 24, and 1 potential summer candidate there. Reagan, 2 potential summer candidates, Riverside and South Division 21. School-based coordinators and advisors work diligently to provide all students with many opportunities to work for and attain the seal. This would conclude the updates and all of the accomplishments of our programs.
At this time, I would like to invite Dr. Tatiana Joseph to give the DMAC update. Dr. Joseph.
Thank you and good evening. Since the last time we spoke, we have continued to support the recruitment efforts of the BME office and really using DMAC as a tool of potential recruitment where families can share their experiences and just the joys of having the opportunity to have a child enrolled in a language program. We have worked specifically in the younger grades because over the course of the last year, that has been an effort that we've been supporting overall with MPS. We also had a session on advocacy. And for this session specifically, Chris Steele, Representative Goiki, and Board Director Carr, we had a couple of different meetings on different topics, but they presented on state and local political action. Specifically, a couple of weeks ago when there was a lot of just political action in Madison pertaining to public education. And Chris Steele and Representative Goiki did a great job in really providing information and next steps for families to be involved. And then our last meeting, we had a budget briefing. We do that every single year where we help families kind of, go through the budget and really understand what is proposed in the upcoming budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. That concludes our presentation. At this time, we'll be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for that report. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? I see we'll take Director Garcia and then Director Peterson. So Director Garcia.
Yes, first of all, thank you to the administration and team for the information. I think it's really important for, the district just to really learn about all the great initiatives of really how are we meeting the linguistic need and growth of the families, that within our district. I guess my question is tied to staffing. I know that has been one of the biggest, I think, barriers to really being able to fully support the full impact of what language programs can do within student development. So I just wondered, where are we with that? Like, what are the current vacancies in that? And I guess, like, especially as we're looking into the upcoming school year, I know there's a lot of really great strategies that I've already had conversation with folks within doing this presentation, but if we can just have a kind of a overview of what that looks like and what we can expect.
Thank you, Director Garcia. Administration.
Chair Simpson, Director Garcia, members of the committee. Currently, and again, this is fluid with our process right now, but we have 74 bilingual teachers who are on one-year licenses with stipulations from the Department of Public Instruction. In terms of vacancies, we have 7 world language vacancies, 3 ESL, and 16 bilingual teacher vacancies. 12 of those are special education for regular education, as that pertains to our bilingual schools. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we are out and about in terms of recruitment. The International Fair held in February, we met over 50 individuals. We have extended offers to 20 individuals that are currently in pre-employment process. We visited Puerto Rico. Human Resources is currently in Mexico trying to recruit other teachers. Again, outside of our regular recruitment from within with our own paras and whatever we can do to get people to join up here. We're also going abroad to expand our pool, knowing that we need to do that.
Director Garcia?
I can find my unmute button.
There you
No,
go.
thank you so much. I mean, I think that really understanding the, I guess like the potentials and where things, I guess like opportunities are for really getting after these 70, or I guess, what is it, 74 one-year license. I guess the 16 classroom teachers and 12 special ed. I think those are really one of the harder to fill positions. So just really understanding that, you know, we are doing all that we can do and exploring, you know, innovative ways to really make placements appetizing, I think is really important. So thank you all for, you know, those efforts. I know we have a lot of work ahead of us, but, you know, we got to start somewhere. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Director, I did see Director Peterson and then Director Leonard, so we'll do Director Peterson first.
Thank you. And thanks for the presentation and the work that's being done by all the three people who presented and the many more people who are promoting bilingualism within our district. I just, a couple of comments. I know that it was mentioned that we're trying to do a better job marketing, and I think that's very key. You know, we have a lot of competition, particularly on the south side, with schools that have a lot of shiny new program buildings, but many of them, most of them, our competition don't teach students in a bilingual fashion. And I think part of it is we have to really convince parents that the bilingualism, maintaining their children's home language is very important, because there are parents who don't think that. And I think we all know that, and it's exemplified by the seal of biliteracy and what can happen with students, that's so important. And it's certainly something that we, you know, I encourage anybody who has great ideas about how to increase that message to our communities, please share it. I think just two other things I just want to mention. One is I know that there has been some issues with transportation on the north side, getting kids who are historically in the bilingual program at Riverside, the only high school on the north side that has a bilingual program, because of the 7-mile limitation. And I just encourage us, as we look at transportation rules and regulations, that we make sure that we can get kids who might be 7.5 miles on the northwest side to school as well, who are bilingual, who are enrolled in the bilingual program. And finally, just a question. I'm glad to hear that we have 74 teachers who have 1-year license. That means we're cultivating those teachers. Obviously, a goal is, one, to maintain them so they don't burn out early, because it's the first couple of years of teaching is difficult. And secondly, to help them become more skilled at their craft. And with that, I guess, is there a way, like, and I just know teachers who are overwhelmed with the survival are probably sometimes the last people who voluntarily seek out PD that might help them. And I wonder if with those early novice teachers, I would say, if there's a financial incentive we might consider providing to increase their interest and participation in professional development. I don't know if that's possible, but anyway, I think it's essential, because we want to make sure that all teachers are as high quality as possible. So perhaps the administration could just comment on that one point point that I made.
Administration.
Director Simpson, Chair Simpson, excuse me, Director Peterson, members of the committee, Eduardo Galvan. Just to backtrack just a little bit in terms of the supports for our newer educators, Director Peterson, you're absolutely right. That is essential for any, but especially for many of our in-program teachers who are paras and going through that process. So they do get the supports in terms of we've offered tutoring. We offer any kind of support. Ms. Guinea and her team provide professional development and the bilingual units for instruction. And they're there at any time that they're needed, right? And I agree, and any help anybody can give us. And if you ever need help, please reach out. We are there to support. We are there to help. In terms of financial consideration, at least for in-program, we are ready to help. We went out to every individual. We held various meetings regarding those that are in program or wishing to obtain their bilingual licensure. So please, anybody out there that needs that assistance, please feel free to reach out to me or Mr. Harris or Lorena, and we'll point you in the right direction. In terms of for PD is available obviously through LMS, but more importantly, I do believe Ms. Guinea and her team do a wonderful job, and they will go on site. They will make arrangements to train entire staffs or individuals in terms of what is so beneficial about learning languages.
Thank you. Director Peterson.
No, thank you very much, and I look forward to helping any way I can.
Thank you. Director Leonard.
It's exciting to see the program growing. I don't know how many years ago I was part of DMAC, but it was not this big. But now you have me curious as to, I guess one question I have is, how many of I'm looking at that page, well, it's page 3, I believe, just that graph, that chart. I just need to know, and you can get back to me whenever you can, our percentage of Black students, how many of them have joined into our bilingual schools over the past several years? I'd just like to have an idea of seeing how those numbers are progressing. It looks higher, but I don't remember anything from previous years. So that's one question. And if you don't have that off the top of your head, that's understandable.
Administration, do you have a response to that?
Chair Simpson, Director Leonard, just as a clarification, are you, please help me understand. So you want to know the population of African American students that are now in the bilingual schools? Okay, I can provide that. I'll have to get that to you.
Okay, because I see the 21.7% that's on the chart here. Okay, but I'd be curious as to how much it has grown. I do not believe that was the numbers a couple of years back. So, but I'm guessing. I'm really guessing. So
we'll certainly get that to you.
Okay, thank you. And then I just want to mention that the Seal of Biliteracy was exciting to be there at the program with you, Dr. Posley, and everyone else. When you think of what learning a second language really does, having that proficiency in 2 languages or more is a big boost to getting yourselves out of poverty and of becoming completely independent, both economically and professionally. So there's no question about it. And I just want to remind us that there was a Hamilton High School student with her biliteracy certification, and she's going to be going to Harvard this fall. So, hey, just wanted to throw that in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Leonard. Yes, our language programs are wonderful, and it is awesome to see them growing. Administration, do you have any response to the statements Director Leonard made?
Chair Simpson, Director Leonard, you're absolutely right. We were discussing earlier today the pride in the growth of the Seal of Biliteracy, and Lorena was sharing with me. Maybe she can share again those numbers over the years.
Yes, Chair Simpson, Director Leonard, and members of the committee. We have in the 2020 when we started, we only had 18 students that graduated with the Seal of Biliteracy. Then last year we have 58. Now we have 66 and 4 students on the way that we are very positive that they will, pass their criteria. That will make it up to 70 for this year. So from 18 for when we begin to 70 is a big jump from everything we've gone through with the pandemic.
Chair Simpson, Director Leonard, in a lot of the work that DMAC and Dr. Joseph and that we discussed was expanding that through the use of Mango languages, through the use of other resources for parents. And there was a presentation at one of the DMAC listen to me, meetings that we showed exactly, this is something you can do from home. So it can be a learning activity that families engage in together. Because you're absolutely right. Language can open so many doors, and it also opens insights into other people, right, and how we can live together better and work together better.
Thank you so much for those remarks. Madam Secretary, is there any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you so much. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, thank you very much for that report. And yes, it's a program that we love in our district, and it's really great to see it growing and have that expansion, those expanding opportunities for our students. So thank you to all of the presenters. Thank you, Dr. Joseph, for joining us. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 9, which is a report with possible action regarding the 53206 initiative. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Will the administration please present the item?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, this evening we are prepared to share the end of the year report on the 53206 initiative. This evening I have with me Mr. Maurice Turner, who will present the item, and following his presentation, we will be prepared to answer any questions that you may have. Also, Mr. Turner is one of many team members that you will meet tonight with. Mr. Turner.
Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. Maurice Turner, Instructional Leadership Director for the high school region. We are delighted to provide the committee with our year in review report. The 53206 initiative work is deeply rooted in the 5 priorities for success. The report this evening will provide the committee with some of the highlights from the 2021-2022 school year. It would also include performance measures for the upcoming school year. And lastly, the report will spotlight the incredible work taking place with students, parents, and families at the Milwaukee Public Schools Success Center housed on the Green Bay Avenue campus. Here are some of the highlights from this school year. We are proud of the networking of our parent coordinators in our schools. This year, coordinators collaborated together and worked with MPS family and parent engagement specialists to ensure the MPS standard of care for parents and families is implemented in our buildings. College and career-focused branding for all of our 53206 schools. We are intentional about building a college and career culture in our schools through early exposure. In November of 2021, you may recall we surveyed the staff in our Promise Partnership schools. In that survey, the majority of the staff in our schools stated that they will start and stay and succeed in their current school assignments. We continue to collaborate with human resources to recruit and retain staff for Promise Partnership schools. Currently, we have 16 teacher vacancies and 12 paraprofessional vacancies going into the 2022-23 school year. Recruitment events specifically for 53206 took place locally, nationally, and internationally. We started with recruiting for staff at 5 historically Black colleges and universities. National recruiting at those 5 historically Black colleges and universities. International recruitment efforts were executed in Puerto Rico, Mexico, and even Africa. Local staff recruitment took place in various venues around the city, as well as district-sponsored job fairs held at Milwaukee Marshall High School, Bradley Tech High School, South Division High School, and at Andrew S. Douglas Middle School. Upcoming recruitment events will be held at the UW Stevens Point Teacher Job Fair, at various Milwaukee festivals, including Pride Fest, Polish Fest, and on June 19th, we will be at the celebration down on MLK Drive. These are just a few events where we will be actively recruiting for staff in our schools. In late November of 2021 and 2022 school year, we added a Promise Partnership Schools Coordinator, Mr. Dumas, to the team. Mr. Dumas hit the ground running with a focus on expanding community and business partnerships to help fill in some of the gaps that exist in our school communities. Here are just a few partnerships that the coordinator secured for the upcoming school year for 53206 schools. New partnerships for the 2022-23 school year include UW Credit Union. UW Credit Union will provide scholars with essential school supplies and personal care items to support students and families with the necessary tools to start the school year successfully. UW Credit Union will also provide parents with financial literacy classes and resources during that school year as well. North Shore Bank. North Shore Bank is providing financial literacy curriculum titled Bonsai. They will provide a staff member that will support the delivery of financial literacy to school stakeholders for the 2022-23 school year. UW Milwaukee School of Architecture and the Milwaukee School of Engineering, MSOE, will support STEM programs in the 53206 Promise Partnership schools and future projects for the upcoming school year. At this time, I will turn the presentation over to Senior Director Janelle Hawkins of the Citywide Region.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Chair Simpson, members of the board, my name is Janelle Hawkins, Senior Director of the Citywide Region. I'm excited to share this next slide with you as it is our culminating activity this year, and it gives you a glimpse of what we envisioned by the team and was actually realized on May 10th. For many years in our district, we have served Our Lights Are On in Milwaukee Public Schools. This year, 53206 looked at the district initiative a little bit differently. As a team, we had a goal of creating an event that allowed us to launch a systematic way of collaborating all of our efforts in 53206, with the end goal being what is best for the students, families, staff, and community partners in this neighborhood. As a network of schools, Our Lights Are On, which was held at Andrew S. Douglas, was reimagined. This new focus provided limitless opportunity. We created a synergy among our schools around very specific outcomes: collective messaging, shared networking among teachers in like positions, shared leadership and responsibility, enrollment efforts, hiring, and community partner outreach. During Our Lights Are On, we set out to enroll new families in 53206. With the help of student services, we had staff on site with computers, and we were able to register new families. We wanted our schools to meet other teachers in 53206 schools. Staff made professional connections. School teams will begin sharing resources, time, and space in the months to come as a network of schools, collaboratively working together for school improvement. We know that vacancies exist in 53206. During this night, Human Resources joined us on site and was available to answer questions about teaching positions in 53206, as well as other employment opportunities in our district. This was a great way to solicit our families and provide work opportunities for those in need. Lastly, we know we need additional community partners to help support the work that is happening in this zip code. I'm pleased to share that numerous partners attended the event, and several are having future conversations with us regarding additional ways to engage with our schools. Mr. Turner highlighted a few. I just want to share a few more partners that we are still in conversations with. Walnut Way, Running Rebels, Heart Love Place, Catholic Charities, 414 Life, and the Medical College of Wisconsin, just to name a few. As we continue to review the feedback from this event, our ultimate goal is to get better with this event each and every year. As we conclude this year-end report, we are also in the process of getting ready for next year. As we start looking forward for the upcoming school year, we wanted to share a snapshot of our newly created monitoring system to help support the work in 53206. This monitoring system is a visual depiction of our way to ensure accountability and increased outcomes while also making sure that we communicate with all stakeholders that are closely aligned to this work. Each component of the system has detailed descriptions of who we will work with, what will the work look like, and how often this work will be communicated to our stakeholders. It is our hope that such transparency moving forward brings about more collaboration based on the needs of our constituents. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Dr. Nolan, who will walk you through the next set of slides. Dr. Nolan?
Thank you, Director Hawkins. Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. I am Dr. Carlotta Nolan, Regional Superintendent for the Central Region. On slides 6 and 7, you will notice a scorecard, which contains a set of outcome indicators that were selected with the input from the 53206 Principal Leadership Team. The data gathered at the conclusion of this school year for each indicator as listed will serve as baseline data. Through the process of data-driven continuous improvement, these indicators will guide our planning, evaluation processes, and inform our instructional and leadership practices for the upcoming year. In addition to the identification of the outcome indicators, we have begun to outline a performance measurement system that includes processes for data collection procedures, improving analysis of interim performance and efficiency outcome data, and follow-up on findings, identifying specific ways to make the outcome and efficiency data more useful, and determining frequency of reporting, presenting, and dissemination of performance data. Through this process, we will be able to use performance data to identify and respond to indicator outcomes, make adjustments in our planning and evaluation, seek necessary assistance and support, and engage in more intensive monitoring for improvement. In a few minutes, you will hear from the leaders of the Success Center, who will provide an overview of the programming as grounded in their guiding values. These values include knowledge and wisdom of families and community, high level of support for students and schools, accountability for relations with selves and others, and perseverance through conflict that promotes social emotional growth. But prior to hearing from them, I would like to share some exciting news that is developed out of the work of the Success Center and collaboration between the team here at Milwaukee Public Schools, including the 53206 Executive Team, the Grants Development Office, the Office of Specialized Services, and the Office of Governmental Relations with Marquette University Peaceworks. In late April, the President of the United States signed a bill which included the proposal request submitted by this collaborative for the development of BRIGHT, Building Resiliency in Classroom Education. The guiding principles and goals of BRIGHT are aligned to the great work that is happening at the Success Center. Through BRIGHT, direct services and support will be provided to students struggling with mental health, academic, and/or behavioral challenges. This family-centered initiative will address mental health, improve social-emotional outcomes, and restore relationships with strategies to help students become resilient learners through multi-sector partnerships. Bryce will be present in 5 of the 53206 partnership schools. The schools are Jackson Elementary, Franklin Elementary, Heath Avenue Elementary, La Follette Elementary, and Douglas Middle School. A comprehensive needs assessment will establish a baseline of student, school, and caregiver needs. This data will be used to place students in tiers and identify the types of interventions students receive. Marquette University Peacework staff will deliver customized classroom, small group, psychoeducational interventions in person and virtually to support and foster students' resilience, self-care, and change-making capacity using the Peaceworks curriculum. Marquette University Peacework staff will also provide training and support to school administrators, teachers, and staff to establish a school culture that addresses student mental health and well-being. Culturally competent service providers will offer clinical services that include individual, family, group, art, and recreational therapy. We will target a minimum of 2.5 days of on-site availability for practitioners in each school. As we plan for the implementation of Bryce, we have outlined a set of performance indicators to assess the outcomes and efficiency of services and programming. These indicators include at least 70% of students will meet at least one of their individualized student learning plan behavior goals, demonstrate measurable growth on a pre and post assessment for social emotional learning, demonstrate a reduction in the number of incident referrals as measured prior to the program, demonstrate a reduction in the number of suspensions measured prior to the program, demonstrate an improved attendance rate as measured prior to the program, and 100% of students who need mental health care will have access to therapeutic services. But wait, if you think that's great, in addition to being awarded funds for Bryce, this collaborative recently submitted another proposal entitled Engaging MPS Families, Strengthening Communities in 53206. And just this morning, we received word that Senator Baldwin is moving forward with requesting funding to support this proposal, which is aimed at creating systemic change by connecting with families of MPS students in 53206 to provide skills that will strengthen the family structure, develop a commitment to evoke justice and create sustainable change in their community, address the gap that exists between family and school cultures, and promote healing in neighborhoods through the intentional collaboration of families, schools, and communities. We are confident that both Bryce and Engaging MPS Families, Strengthening Communities in 53206 will have a significant impact on addressing the mental health, academic, and behavioral needs of both students and families. We look forward to sharing the progress and outcome data as we begin implementation. Now, I will turn it over to Ms. Bridget Schacht, Director of Contracted School Services, and Mr. Andrew DeLudio, teacher in charge of the Milwaukee Public Schools Success Center. Andrew?
Thank you so much, Dr. Nolan. Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Drew DeLudio, teacher leader at the Success Center. The Success Center values the knowledge and wisdom of families and communities. We provide students and schools with a high level of support, and we hold all our community members, including ourselves, accountable to our relationships with one another. We encourage perseverance through conflicts to achieve the social and emotional growth that is a natural outcome of any healthy struggle. The Success Center serves students in grades 4 through 12 and partners with families and schools to prioritize the social and emotional health of students and equip them to better navigate school in collaboration with teachers and families. This work would not be possible without the dedicated MPS staff members and partnership with Marquette Center for Peacemaking, Bembe Drum and Dance, Bloom Center for Art Therapy, Innerlight Yoga Studio, and Lutheran Social Services. The Success Center is built upon the belief in a restorative philosophy and strives to cultivate, maintain, and repair trusting relationships as a prerequisite for social and emotional growth. I'd like to take a moment to speak briefly on the three aspects of the program listed on this slide. Students are referred to the Success Center by the behavior intervention team at the School of Origin. Open houses are hosted at regular intervals to provide families and students with an opportunity to learn more about the program and complete what we call a plan of support. We emphasize to families and students the importance of making a collaborative decision about participation. Ultimately, therapeutic services should be desired by both the family and the child. The large number of referrals we have received is indicative of the high demand in our community for school-based mental health resources. Often, the families attending our open houses wish to see more programs like the Success Center available to their children. Students and families benefit from 9 weeks of in-person services at the center. Informed by the student's plan of support, our staff facilitates small group and one-on-one sessions daily. Sessions include art therapy, social and emotional learning, therapeutic drumming and music, peace education, mindfulness, and talk therapy. Additionally, MPS staff is available on site to provide academic supports. The students' parents or guardians are given access to weekly check-ins and therapeutic supports through Lutheran Social Services. We take a restorative approach to relationship development and conflict resolution at the center. We spend an enormous amount of energy building meaningful, trusting relationships with our students and families so we can effectively repair harm when conflict inevitably occurs. Throughout the 9-week cohort, school-based referring staff members are engaged in weekly check-ins and progress monitoring. Furthermore, we encourage school personnel to visit students at the center often. At week 6 of the cohort, the student and family begin working collaboratively with our team to develop a transition plan. The plan specifies the services and supports the family and child would like to maintain following their return to school. 9 weeks of check-ins and school-based support are then provided to the student to facilitate a supportive transition from the program. Even after the 9 weeks have ended, our students and families continue to request support. The trusting relationships facilitated by our dedicated team never truly go away, and our families often reach out long after the 9-week transition supports have ended. We do everything in our power to continue providing school-based check-ins with former students if those services are desired. Middle school grades have been the highest need support area based on the students served and the referrals received by schools. We're quite proud that the demographics served at the Success Center align to the demographics represented district-wide. The Success Center has served 83 students from 65 different schools across the district since the center opened in 2019. The staff continue to provide transition support to each of our students and schools after they leave our program. And at this time, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. DeLulio. Maurice Turner, Instructional Leadership Director with the High School Region. Director Simpson and committee members, at this time, that ends our presentation, and we are ready to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you for that important update and the exciting news. Lots to talk about. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Seeing none at the moment. Madam Secretary, is there any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Wonderful. Is there any discussion? Director Leonard.
No, just that I would like to visit the Success Center. I would like to check it out. You've got my full attention. It's something I saw decades ago in I think it was in I'm trying to think, it was in Michigan somewhere for a community-based education system they had there. So I am curious. So yeah, I would love to check it out and see what it looks like and get a better feel for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Leonard. Director Garcia.
I just wanted to congratulate everyone involved in this report. I think this is an excellent example of collaboration across departments, across sectors, just really the power of when we are able to reach, across and really bring people in. I think this is where, we do very well. So thank you everyone for the work that is being led to ensure that, the disparities that we see within this particular zip code don't overshadow the amazing things that are happening and the families and students that live there. So thanks.
Thank you, Director Garcia. Director Leonard, I'd like to pass the gavel. Thank you.
So noted.
Thank you, Dr. Mann. So yeah, boy, so much to digest in this report. But one question I had related to the Success Center was, is it being used to its full capacity? Is there room for expansion? Is there a wait list? Just kind of any information around that would be helpful.
Administration.
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Drew DeLudio, teacher leader at the center. Yeah, that's a wonderful question. And I think one of the things that we have learned over the course of, the journey that we've been on supporting our families is that the center is a special place in terms of the amount of support that we can provide to children who are in desperate need of an extraordinarily high level of services. I think that one of the things that we've learned is that what we're able to do at the center with the number of students that we have could very well suffer if we were to raise the number of students we're serving and not also address the capacity of the adults who are providing the services there. I do feel strongly that, with the amount of mental health services that these children and families are asking for, we have found a balance as it exists right now at the center. But I certainly feel strongly that expanding those services is something that our families are very much looking for.
Chair, Vice Chair Leonard, and members of the committee. One of the things I will also share is that I just had a conversation with Mr. Boswell and Mr. Hennessy in regards of looking at how we can duplicate and provide more seats, looking at some other success center models of how we could go about doing this, but also looking at, can this be duplicated as well in another location within the city and with larger numbers. So all of those things are on the table as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It sounds like a service that, as was mentioned, our families are looking for, and one that I'm certain we would be able to grow. I feel like there's just a high need, and it would be nice to see that happen, that these services become available to more individuals who need that. So with that, I will take the gavel back.
Okay.
Thank you, Director Leonard. I see Director. Thank you. I see Director Peterson's hand.
Yes, thank you. couple questions. One, in terms of the Success Center, what is the number of students that is ideal at any one time? And also then what is the staff student ratio? And it's clear that you also have many volunteers or people in other institutions working with the students. So that's one question. And then this other question, the other question might not be just for the Success Center folks, but all the other fine work that's going in the 53206 zip code area is that what about the students in kindergarten through third grade? I've gotten, reports, and I know this to be a fact, that some of our students, even very young students, need considerable support. Maybe I'd like to know. I know there's definitely support going on in the district and in 53206, but if somebody could sort of summarize that, I would appreciate it. So, thank you.
Administration.
Chair Simpson, Director Peterson, I can speak directly, Director Peterson, to your first question regarding the ideal number of students. And I guess the way that I'd characterize the ideal number of students is to consider the scope of trauma or mental health services that any particular cohort of students requires. And the reason I say that is because ultimately, we don't necessarily marry ourselves to a finite number of students because of that very reason. We've had children who are referred to the center who've experienced extraordinary levels of trauma in the community, and because of that, myself and my partner Willie Maryland, who coordinates the program with me, have to be able, in circumstances like that, to be able to provide one-on-one therapeutic services to those children while they're at the center. Ideally, we try to move anywhere from about 10 to 15 students per cohort. That number can move in either direction based on the needs of the children. But like I said earlier, I think considering the amount of violence in the community currently, we're seeing a huge number of children who require an extraordinary level of mental health services. So we really do our best to try and be sensitive to that when we build the cohorts. Of course, also to ensure that our mental health partners can provide the services that they're providing in a high support environment.
Director Peterson. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, there was part two. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Chair Simpson and members of the committee. While it is not, I would say the services will be in a like a place like the name, the Success Center. The reason for us wanting to have Bryce and then also the Engaging MPS Families, Strengthening Communities in 53206 is because it will allow us to span the therapeutic and psycho educational services to more students within 53206. In addition to that, while it's not 53206, we also have the Four Schools Initiative, which is totally funded by the Boulay, that works in Metcalf and in Marvin Pratt, where they're doing similar things. These are K-5 and K-8 settings. So the students who will benefit from Bryce in those 5 schools will span from whatever the lowest grade they have up to the highest grade. And as Dr. Posey said, we are not finished in our quest to ensure that the services that our children need, whether they are academic services, whether they are social emotional or behavior related issues, we are not going to stop until we are able to provide services to all of our students, not just in 53206, because the need spans further than 53206, which is why in 53206, I'm sure you probably don't remember, but we said if we get this right in 53206, then we know that we have a model that we can get it right everywhere else. And so we will not stop until all of our children have what they need. Either educationally, like I said, social emotionally, and with these mental health issues, and our families, of course. We believe that we can't do something to the students in school and not really address the needs of the family. So I hope that answers your question.
Director
you.
Peterson.
Yes, it does. Both answers, and thank you for your work and the staff that works with you and the volunteers and other people from community. It's outstanding work. It's very necessary, and it will continue to be necessary for, unfortunately, some time, I'm afraid. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Peterson. Is there any further discussion? Thank you. Yes, and thank you so much for this important, the update and details on this critically important work that we're doing for our students and families. Much appreciated. All right, I think that wraps that up. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 10, a report with possible action regarding the MPS MKE Early Childhood 1825 initiative. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Will administration please present the item?
And members of the committee, our MPS MKE Early Childhood Initiative presentation this evening will include the initiative's focus on our goals that have been completed, current and future work, as well as our next step. This evening, Ms. Chrissy Washington is here with me to present the MPS / MKE Early Childhood 1825 initiative. Following our presentation, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Chrissy.
Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. My name is Chrissy Washington, and I'm the manager of early learning for Milwaukee Public Schools. This evening, I will share with you an update of the work that supports the implementation of the MPS MKE Early Childhood 1825 initiative. The MPS MKE Early Childhood 1825 initiative is grounded on all of the 5 of our district priorities. We work at increasing academic achievement, improving school cultures, developing staff, transparency, and strengthening communication and collaboration within the community. This slide reflects the demographic data for May of this fiscal year of 2022. It's reflective of the early childhood student population of our district. Diversity is our greatest strength, with enrollment representation from African American, Hispanic, American Indian, Asian, white, and other ethnicity groups, and it is aligned to the demographics of the district. The mission of this work is to improve the learning experiences for children ages birth through 5 years in the city of Milwaukee by ensuring that all educators and childcare providers who have a direct impact on our students' learning processes understand the skill set, have the knowledge, capacity, and resources needed to provide high-quality instruction to all children and students participating in early childhood education programs. Thus, the 5 priorities that are the elements for high-quality early childhood education and programming serve as the focus and overall implementation goal for the MPS MKE 1825 initiative. These groups work collaboratively on supporting the community by providing early childhood staff development, a focus on family and school transition, working and supporting high-quality, impactful instruction, learning more and providing support in the area of social and emotional learning, as well as working with and collaborating with other organizations on providing equitable resource within every early learning setting. So during the months between February and May of this year, the MPS MKE Early Childhood Initiative maintained the focus on equitable and meaningful engagement and learning opportunities to support the early learning community. Staff development. Staff development was supported when the Week of the Young Child was recognized. The Week of the Young Child was not only highlighted within our district, this celebration
was also one that was celebrated not only locally, but nationwide. MPS collaborated with Milwaukee Succeeds on a broader statewide and national campaign. A video campaign featuring a cross-sector of community leaders sharing why early childhood education is important to Milwaukee was led by Milwaukee Succeeds. As a contributor to this effort, a portion of the MPS submission was mentioned within the Milwaukee Succeeds April 8th blog on Milwaukee Leaders Celebrate Early Childhood. On the blog, it stated, ECE also plays an essential role in properly preparing children for kindergarten and the remainder of their K through 12 education, unquote. Retired MPS teacher, Ms. Keating, has firsthand experience with this, noting that, quote, students who entered my classroom who had caregivers that encouraged oral language development, early literacy and math skills, as well as socialization skills, were significantly more advanced than their peers. Another effort, which is known as the MPS/MKE Talks Solely series, solely meaning supporting oral language in the early learning years, provided 3 sessions that focus on empowering educators with simple interactions. The simple interactions approach seeks to strengthen simple, everyday adult-child interactions across child development settings from childcare to schools. The sessions were facilitated by Dr. Dana Winters and Dr. June Lee, human relationship and professional equity experts who developed the simple interaction tool and approach. The sessions were open to the internal MPS as well as the external childcare community with registry credit being offered. The first session had 36 participants with 15 from the childcare community. The second session had 65% participants with 23 from the childcare community. And the final session, which was conducted a couple weeks ago, this past May, had 61 participants with 28 from the childcare community. I'd like to highlight a response from one of the participants from the final sessions being, quote, the training helped us to undertake more skills to be exposed to children in our schools to improve our classes, our relationship in the classroom, and that our students are better, unquote. In the area of equitable resources, the Bridges to School MKE is a community-based partnership that aims to connect families, childcare providers, and schools in Milwaukee to increase the number of children attending, thriving, and succeeding in our community. This effort is offered within 3 community schools of Browning, Longfellow, and Westside. During phase 1 of the pilot year of implementation, outreach had begun to families as well as early childhood providers in the geographic areas surrounding the 3 Bridges to School community schools. Additional relationship building was done with the schools by the Bridges to MKE coordinator. This coordinator also completed a site-based school and neighborhood contextual assessment, so to determine what was occurring in the community, who was doing these things, what their relevant roles were, so to establish baseline data for each community site and collect relevant information so that they'll be able to continue to bridge and further support the community. In the area of family support and transition, the initiative was able to attend the 5 through 206 Our Lights Are On event and was also able to invite a partner from the initiative, the Milwaukee Medical College, CTSI, so to share early childhood resources and information. This event was a great networking opportunity, which further connected partnerships with the MPS schools. In the area of instruction, the Promoting Early Childhood Conference was able to be supported by a partnership from MPS and the director within the Office of the State Superintendent of DPI. The session supported the theme of the heart meaning humility, empathy, acceptance, relationships, and trust. The heart of early childhood and the importance of nurturing connection. a breakout session on the heart of cultivating the genius of early learners was collaboratively offered. Within this session, Dr. Goldie Muhammad's historically responsive literacy framework was referenced and used to help teachers cultivate the genius within students and within themselves, and to support them to teach in ways that create spaces for mutual empowerment, confidence, and reliance. Participants engage with the framework to understand how to select text and build lessons that center learners' identity, skill development, intellectualism, criticality, and joy in order to support children's delight and wonder in learning. Furthermore, participants walked away with tools that they could use to implement into their daily routines to ensure that each and every child achieves their full potential. Additionally, instruction was supported by early administrators receiving a Tier 1 overview of the Frog Street curriculum. This required program component was highlighted to share information regarding the fidelity of implementation as well as alignment look fors that connected the program with the MPS walkthrough tool. Finally, social and emotional learning was supported by attendance to the regulation training that was offered from WellPoint, which is formerly St. A. The Early Childhood Education Training Series is a collaborative effort that was offered by WellPoint and 4Cs for Children. This 4-part series shared information and strategies on regulation, healing, and resilience, and will culminate in an in-person event where educators who participated will receive a toolkit and a book of over 60 activities to utilize in their classroom. Current work. Within this quarterly update, the MPS MKE Early Childhood Initiative continues to do the following activities. In the area of staff development, MPS Early Childhood was invited to participate in the revision of the Department of Children and Families Child Care Foundational Training. DCF has decided to strategically weave diversity, equity, and inclusion into the 4 required foundational courses. And they are required to do this, and it's centered on diversity, equity, and will become the foundation for all of the forthcoming workforce trainings in the future. Excuse me. Participation in this work group further allows MPS to connect with the childcare community as well as support the workforce with further support the workforce with these credentials or those who are to attain them that provide early care within MPS before and after school programs. In the area of equitable resources, the Mighty Small Moments campaign. This Mighty Small Moments is offered by the City of Milwaukee, and its aim is to tackle learning gaps for young children through this initiative. As such, the Office of Early Childhood Initiatives is to unveil Pop Spot, which are interactive learning installations at certain Milwaukee County Transit bus shelters. MPS 1825 Initiative plans to sponsor 4 of these Pop Spots. So information will be forthcoming soon about this exciting interactive learning opportunity. In the area of instruction, 53206 and CTSI developed a relationship from the Keep Our Lights On opportunity that was provided on May 10th. So the Clinical Translational Science Institute of the Medical College that leads the CAN, the Child Advancement Network, that has 5 sectors with 180 community partners, has been able to further connect with interested 53206 principals. And so in the first meeting, they had a chance to learn more about what this network offers. And there are 2 things that were highly interesting that really interested them because these are things that would help parents further support and understand what they could do to further develop executive function skills. One is the Mind in the Making training. And this training is focused on 7 essential executive function skills that children need to thrive. And so those that were interested in this is due to the fact that each skill is a training session that is provided to anyone who may be interested. And in fact, representation from the initiative of MPS has been trained and will be able to provide these sessions forthcoming. Also, there is Vroom. Vroom is a free application that provides brain building tips that nurtures children learning from birth to 5. And in partnership with CTSI, some of these school leaders plan to offer this to their families. So once again, I just will emphasize that they are highly interested in these opportunities because they are flexible and can be offered anytime and anywhere, regardless of if it's Vroom or if it's mine in the making. Finally, the family support and transition area has been supported by the EC Initiative website, and this website will provide information to support our learners as well as our families with information as regarding summer learning opportunities as well as transition to school information. So this important work must continue in order to have an impact on our young learners and ultimately to ensure improved school readiness, which is the major focus of this initiative. Thus, the work will continue to focus on the following. We will continue to look in offering solely series opportunities since oral language development is extremely important. And so we will look to provide ways to support this area. We continue to work in collaboration with the Office of Early Childhood on initiatives. We'll also collaborate internally with those that provide services for social emotional learning, and we'll look to provide a step training that connects the Frog Street curriculum that is utilized in our pre-kindergarten populations. We'll also continue to work to cultivate genius by training staff and utilizing the framework as a tier 1 instructional support for ambitious instruction, lever, which is explicit instruction. And finally, we'll continue to connect the district with other outreach efforts through partnerships with the community's schools to bridges MKE project. So this work will continue to ensure that we have equitable resources and high quality professional development by looking into ways to better support the early learning community. So at this time, this concludes the update, and I will be more than happy to respond to any questions that you may have.
Thank you for that update that has a huge impact on the youngest citizens in our city. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? The Director Leonard.
So this whole time I was listening to this, I was also thinking, what are our current enrollment projections for our early childhood classes for the upcoming fall?
Administration.
Director Leonard, Chair Season, and other members of the committee, I do not have those projections at the moment, but I'll be sure to provide them for you.
Okay, thank you. And then if you need any help with door-to-door, I would be more than happy to be part of that. I think we really have to definitely get our youngest children into our schools at MPS. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Leonard. Any other committee members? Madam Secretary, is there any public comment on this item?
We have no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Any further discussion by committee members? Seeing none, thank you again for this really important report. Appreciate it. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 11, which is a report with possible action regarding the implementation of the personal finance course. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Will administration please present the item?
Including a review of the 2021-22 school year. Following the team's presentation, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I will turn it now over to Eric Radomski as well as Marty Diaz. Eric?
Thank you, Chair Stevenson, members of the committee, Eric Radomski, Manager of Career and Technical Education. I'm happy to introduce Marty Diaz, our financial literacy teacher mentor, who will be providing tonight's report.
Good evening, Chair Stevenson and members of the committee. I am Marty Diaz, financial literacy teacher mentor. It is my pleasure to share the personal finance quarterly report with you. These are the district priorities. Our work falls under development of staff and increasing academic achievement and accountability. This report will include a review of the year, highlights and district accomplishments, the plan for teacher development, a review of the implementation plan, and next steps in engaging more students and families in our work. Our top priority is to increase the number of students that successfully complete the personal finance course, with the ultimate goal of offering a personal finance course to every high school student in MPS so that when they graduate, every student is prepared to manage their own finances. We have a lot to celebrate regarding the personal finance work we have done in the district. After the board approved the personal finance course to be a graduation requirement, we successfully launched the course in 11 high schools with 724 students. We created an implementation plan and met our goal of adding 6 to 10 schools in both spring and fall semesters. We built a strong financial literacy advisory board who has been in collaboration with us to provide additional support for the curriculum as well as professional development for our staff. In addition, the students that took the pre and post tests increased their score by 20%. The pass rate for the personal finance course are comparable with the other junior and senior classes. We have been recognized by Governor Evers for the implementation of this personal finance course. We have been awarded a grant from the Department of Finance institutions, and we are excited to share that over 400 students and families received important information regarding our financial literacy during Financial Literacy Month. Our personal finance students have made MPS proud by their ability to compete with students across the state. We had 18 teams participate in the Finance Investment Challenge Bowl and 64 teams involved in the stock market game. Both are district records. 2 of our teams qualified to compete at the state competition in Madison last month. Students have reported the most important things that they've learned in this course are credit, the types of things that affect credit and how to build credit, how to manage student loans, and how to pick the right college in terms of cost, the different types of taxes and how to file a tax return, and how to manage and save money through savings accounts. One student shared that this personal finance course will prepare you for life. With the support of our partners, we have hosted 942 hours of professional development this year. NextGen Personal Finance, the leading curriculum and professional development provider in personal finance, has provided many opportunities for our teachers to complete sessions virtually to prepare to teach personal finance. They offer on-demand sessions and live sessions with topics changing weekly. Educators strengthen their content knowledge by taking certification courses specializing in a single topic in personal finance, with 10 hours of professional development and a 1-hour exam to become certified. Throughout the year, we met monthly for cohort meetings to discuss curriculum, assessment, and teaching strategies. These meetings included culturally responsive sessions with the Department of Black and Latino Male Achievement. In addition, last week, with the help of our partners, we hosted an 8-hour professional development session called Forward Learning Institute of Financial and Economic Literacy at Junior Achievement. 16 MPS teachers attended. The graphic on this slide is the summer professional development plan. Teachers are required to take each of the on-demand sessions listed, along with being certified in at least 2 of the certification courses. The average personal finance teacher in MPS took 17 hours of PD during the 21-22 school year. 6 teachers had over 40 hours of PD last school year. Our plan next year is to have each teacher take at least 30 hours of PD. Personal finance teachers have received the plan and have begun the registration process to complete those hours this summer. Next school year, we will continue to work with the Department of Black and Latino Male Achievement during our monthly cohort meetings to give teachers an opportunity to collaborate around best practices. This is the timeline of the personal finance course implementation. Looking at the first column, for cohort 1, the class of 2026 students will have to pass the personal finance course as a graduation requirement. Subsequently, in the next 2 columns, you will find the class of 2027 students at the schools in cohort 2 and cohort 3 will have to pass the personal finance course as a graduation requirement. These schools voluntarily offered the course this spring and next fall. The last column, the class of 2028 students and at the schools in cohort 4 will have to pass the personal finance course as a graduation requirement. This will be all of the schools that did not offer the course during cohort 1, 2, and 3. All students will need to have this course for graduation. Our next steps include expanding and improving our partnerships to ensure that students have access to a comprehensive personal finance education that includes many hands-on opportunities to learn personal finance concepts in and outside of the classroom. We will be working with students and partners to produce a student-led newsletter so students can share important information about personal finance with their peers. We also plan to invite several students to join the advisory board to make sure the course includes ideas that are student-centered. We will work with parent coordinators at each school to provide opportunities for family outreach and to offer financial literacy workshops for families. Lastly, we will be using the standards to support the expansion of financial literacy to middle and elementary school students. We want to take this opportunity to recognize and thank our partners that support the work we are doing in our district around financial literacy. If you have any questions about this report, I would be happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you very much. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Garcia.
Yes, thank you for that. I just want to say that it's very impressive to see the this idea implemented so strategically, to realize that, we're in the heels of cohort 3, and that, there's a plan for the integration of all the schools or all the high schools to be able to offer this very important course for students and families. And the fact that it doesn't just stop at the graduation requirement, that I'm seeing that it's reaching into the education and resources for families, that we're seeing that there's a strategy of reaching into middle schools. So I commend you all for the foresight of just the importance of what financial literacy means specifically for Black and Brown students. And I guess I just wanted to also just give a quick kudos for, I saw that in one of the slides that you're hoping to add students into the advisory council. So I think that's phenomenal, just to continue to include, student voice and folks that have come through this program that is so quickly evolving, but is doing so in a way that's honoring, all the elements that I think were of, I don't know, a pressing need for us as board members when we were first talking about this, like coming to life. So it's just phenomenal just to see the strides that have already been made. So thank you all.
Absolutely. Thank you, Director Garcia. Administration, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Just a big thank you for those comments.
Yeah. Madam Secretary, is there any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
All righty. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, yes, thank you very much. And just that the student's statement said it all, you're giving them life skills that they can use throughout their lifetime. So yes, much appreciate the report. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 12, a report with possible action regarding the ambitious instruction. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Will administration please present the item?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, this evening, I have with me Dr. Boland to present this item regarding ambitious instruction. Following her presentation, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Dr. Boland?
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Dr. Deborah Bowling, Fine Arts Manager. Today, I will provide an update on the work, accomplishments, and future goals of ambitious instruction, accelerated learning. Ambitious instruction aligns with the 5 priorities of success. In particular, the focus is on increasing academic achievement and accountability and developing our staff. Our ambitious instruction plan unites all content areas around 1, formative practices, 2, explicit instruction, and 3, meaningful student engagement. Each grade level and content area embrace specific instructional practices around these 3 key areas. This year, we saw some gains with our focus on the 3 levers. In this slide, you will see from the beginning of cycle 3 to the end of cycle 3, we made gains in formative practices, explicit instruction, and engagement. One of our lessons learned was that we will have consistent observation measures next year so that we can get a better look at the impact of ambitious instruction for the year. Next year, we will be able to determine the impact in each lever from October to June. Here are a few general highlights from ambitious instruction this year. We are very pleased that there is a common language across the district for ambitious instruction. Most teachers, leaders, and specialists in the district are knowledgeable about the 3 levers that will promote positive student outcomes. Collaboration throughout the Office of Academics, 3 successful textbook adoptions, increased project-based learning and hands-on learning, increased literacy in science and social studies classrooms, and intentionality with education and career opportunities. Now, I will draw your attention to some specific points of pride. Explicit instruction. To meet the needs of the various reading abilities in our classrooms, guided reading has been the focus. Teachers that attended in-depth guided reading training found it helpful with improving their instructional practice. When asked, has guided reading training changed your instructional practice? 65% of those who responded said yes. 35% said somewhat. The teacher feedback shed light on how much teachers valued getting explicit instruction about what to do with small groups. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest, 91% surveyed selected a 5 when asked if they would recommend training to a colleague. This summer, the Curriculum and Instruction Department is hosting a guided reading summer institute for K-5 through 8th grade teachers, paraprofessionals, SSTs, and AGRs. Community partners such as City Year and Wisconsin Reading Corps tutors will also be invited to attend. Over 400 participants signed up for the Guided Reading Summer Institute. Further, during the 22-23 school year, we will host 10 additional schools for in-depth guided reading training. Our goal in ambitious instruction is that all classrooms are highly engaging and that they address grade level standards. We are hoping that eventually all students are involved in experiences that will prepare them for the kinds of work needed to enter a national app competition or participate in a STEM fair, for example. We want teachers to begin making these extracurricular activities a part of the regular curriculum. That way, more students would benefit from exploratory learning, authentic assessments, and engaging classroom experiences, and they would be ready to apply those assignments and activities into some of the opportunities you see highlighted here. In the Lego League competition, students demonstrated to a panel of judges their skills in researching, problem solving, coding, critical thinking, working in teams, and communicating effectively. Over 4,000 music students from 75 plus schools rehearsed and performed together at the UWM Panther Arena. It was a celebration of explicit instruction and engagement. Students learned the music in their own schools and came together to perform in the arena in front of their friends, family, and the Milwaukee community. In addition, our new curriculum for modern band made its debut. This year, students in the UNSL program, all coming from diverse backgrounds, learned about other countries, cultures, and international relationships while developing a global perspective on real issues confronting the world today. This learning is in direct alignment with social studies standards and uses high-quality district-adapted resources. Students engage in culturally responsive educational practices to solve issues globally and in their own communities. North Division High School students' Emoji Encouragement app is one of just 6 national winners in the Lenovo Scholars Network competition. This app is designed to support students battling cancer, sickle cell anemia, and other diseases with words of encouragement. Preparing for the STEM fair, students had engaging classroom experiences that highlighted the importance of reading, writing, and math to the work of scientists, while also pursuing topics the students found of interest. Many students and schools focused their work around science topics while they were learning throughout the school year in their particular grade level. The spelling bee also supports literacy in the areas of reading, listening, and speaking, and engages students in accelerated learning as they are exposed to grade level and beyond words. We will provide more trainings next year on how teachers can plan their daily lesson with these kind of outcomes in mind. At the end of the 2021 school year, the Literacy Department conducted a survey to teachers to find out what they needed most in writing. Most educators responded that they wanted professional development and strategies. Based on that feedback, MPS recruited writing teacher champions. We also partnered with a company called The Writing Revolution to provide professional development focused on strategies that could be implemented in all content areas. We align these strategies with the 6 traits of writing and the Wisconsin standards. After the champions were trained, they shared the learning and trained other teachers within their building. Teachers learned a series of writing strategies, starting with sentence structure and ending with writing multiple paragraph essays. SSTs, writing cohorts, and writing teacher champions received a sample writing unit created by the writing team that was used during the MLK writing contest. With the help of the champions, the SSTs, and the writing cohorts, we were able to deliver explicit writing strategies to more teachers. Like I mentioned in the previous slide, the MLK writing contest became less of an event and more of a way for students to share the writing that they were already doing in their classroom. MPS also rolled out document-based questioning, DBQs, online this school year. The DBQ curriculum is an inquiry-based learning experience that asks students to answer a question on a current event or historic topic, research primary and secondary sources related to that topic, and then create an argumentative essay that outlines their response to the question. Curriculum and Instruction has provided 28 different professional development opportunities this calendar year to 3rd through 12th grade teachers and SSTs to ensure that everyone had the opportunity to learn the program and how it can increase engagement and rigor in the classroom. Use of this curriculum grew exponentially throughout the year, with just 2,100 logins in September to more than 67,000 logins by the end of May. A total of 793 DBQs were assigned by teachers this school year, impacting approximately 15,800 students. This curriculum has had a huge impact in reading and writing integration
in social studies classrooms. In early childhood, the core of developmentally appropriate practice lies in intentionality. Intentional teaching is an active process and a way of relating to children that builds on their strengths, provides rigor, and deepens understanding. Early childhood teachers during Cycle 1 focused on explicit instruction. They were provided professional development on intentional teaching and lesson planning with the incorporation of the newly released pre through K I can statements. Explicit instruction was further supported through the implementation of the Lexia Core 5 program within 10 elementary schools. This adaptive blended learning program provides students with the explicit instruction needed to accelerate mastery of reading skills. Data reflective of the 400 pre-K through K students that used the program with fidelity showed the following progress. From start to now, a reduction of 27% of the students working in below grade level material, whereas there was an increase of 28% working on and above grade level material. Over 22% of the students have reached their benchmark, with 64% working in grade level material. Thus, this ongoing work further promoted and supported the lever of explicit instruction of ambitious instruction. Counting collections is an ongoing, intentional, child-driven classroom routine in which we ask young children to first count to figure out how many there are in a collection of objects. Could be a set of old keys, teddy bear counters, rocks collected from the yard, etc. They might count the items one by one or count by groups. Second, we ask children to make a written representation or picture of what they counted and how they counted it on paper. Counting collections, when intentionally planned and thoughtfully implemented, is highly engaging, developmentally appropriate, and effective at targeting mathematical skills and understanding, connected to meaningful counting, a strong predictor of young children's current and future mathematics success. Similar to other kinds of counting activities, the goal is to engage students in coordinating the various aspects of counting in order to find out how many are in the given set of objects. What is different is that children are in charge of how they count and how they record. Teachers provide light scaffolding that honors student thinking and entry points while advancing children's counting skills and ability. Early adopter teachers receiving ongoing professional development and early counting in addition to in-class coaching and guidance. Our early data is indeed inspiring. In our early adopter classrooms, 100% of children demonstrated gains in their counting skills as measured on a common formative assessment. In addition, 75% of children working 2 and 3 years below grade level have reached grade level expectations for counting. This routine has the potential to positively impact our youngest learners and is a powerful step towards ensuring our early childhood students are ready to tackle the challenges of grade 3rd through 5th mathematics. The mathematics and early childhood departments plan to scale up counting collections during the 22-23 school year to the full district. In the next slides, you will see gains in literacy, reading, and math on the STAR assessment. So, through observation, content highlights, and standardized testing, we can say ambitious instruction is making a difference. In early literacy, English and Spanish, there are 483 additional first grade students that are on target or above. Reading English and Spanish, we see 200 additional 2nd through 10th grade students are on target or above. Math, English, and Spanish, there are 1,293 additional grade 1 through 10 students are on target above. Because we are seeing an impact in ambitious instruction, we will not shift our focus next year. We will keep the same focus on the 3 levers. However, we will be doing a deeper dive. By end of year 22-23, the Office of Academics will provide all school leaders and teachers with the professional learning and instructional resources necessary to deliver and support strong, standards-aligned Tier 1 instruction centering on culturally and linguistically responsive teaching practices. Next year, we will emphasize Tier 1 instruction in all of our professional development sessions. Explicit instruction and formative practices will focus on meeting grade level standards through Tier 1 instruction. All students will have equitable access, taught and learned to grade level instruction and content with timely supports and scaffolds starting on day 1 of the school year. Students will engage with district adopted and supported resources for all content areas. And students will be able to leverage technology to empower them to create, collaborate, communicate, and think clearly. We will go deep into ambitious instruction by keeping it simple. Our focus will be on making sure all teachers know what to teach, how to teach, and how to measure student learning. Planning for grade level instruction, providing appropriate scaffolds for grade level instruction, and providing descriptive feedback around mastery of grade level standards is the way we will prepare teachers to accelerate student learning and mitigate learning loss. That is our plan for ambitious instruction for next year. I will now address any questions that you might have.
Thank you for that report. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? All right, Madam Secretary, is there any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you. If I could pass the gavel to Director Leonard.
So noted.
Thank you. So thanks for that very comprehensive update. I just had a couple of questions related to the reading curriculum. So hooray for guided reading. I'm glad you highlighted that. That's such an important opportunity for staff to, or teachers to connect with the students and really, identify specific skills and strategies that they can work on with the kids. And kind of related to that, just the reading curriculum in general, it's a new textbook adoption. No textbook is perfect. We all know that. So do we have a plan for kind of looking at, because reading is just like so essential, looking at monitoring where we might see gaps and how to fill those?
Administration.
Director Seamson, members of the committee, we are currently fleshing out our professional development activities for the next school year and making sure that we are indeed going deeper into those new curriculums that have been adopted and making sure that our students and our teachers are familiar with that. So we will be able to get you those dates and more details as soon as that is complete.
Chair Simpson, any follow-up questions?
Yeah, and that's great. And I appreciate that. And I'd love to get those dates. And then how are we kind of looking for some, like in the curriculum itself, like if there are some areas that we feel are missed or weak, how are we sort of reviewing that information and so that we're able to maybe look at, resources that might help us fill those gaps? As I said, just no curriculum is perfect.
Administration.
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Jennifer Mims Howe, Chief Academic Officer. In order to look at the gaps in our deeper dive, what we're going to do is look at the data that was collected this year. As you saw that we had a lot of students that had a lot of growth. We added students according to our testing from the fall to winter. What we're going to do is look at the students who were maybe 1 or 2 points from missing that. That will help us identify what the gaps are. And then what we can do is probably in the middle of the fall, we can start offering professional development opportunities to meet those kids. Sometimes we call them bubble kids. So what can we do to support those kids through Tier 1 instruction? And if interventions are needed, we'll be able to add some of that as well.
Vice Chair Leonard and members of the committee, and as far as gaps within the material, That's the same kind of thing that we will do with teachers. Our goal is to make sure we front load all the professional development. We want all of our teachers prepared and ready to walk in for day one. I've talked to the team about some days that have been set aside to make sure that all of our teachers get an opportunity to get the professional development that's needed. That's an opportunity to look for those gaps in materials, because they might say with the old Journey series, we had this in it and I don't see this. Where is it? And those kinds of things. This will give us a golden opportunity to line up some of those strategies as well as materials that's needed to supplement any gaps that may be that's not in the curriculum.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And with that, Director Leonard, I'll take the gavel back. Thank you. I see Director Peterson.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to second what you said about guided reading, Director Simpson, and also talk or ask about how we encourage teachers to encourage their students to do independent reading. I know that as a teacher for many decades, those students who read more become better readers, and that depends on having quality classroom libraries, quality libraries at the school, silent reading times where you can model, where teachers actually model reading, read alouds, and real efforts to get kids to read at home for 15 minutes or a half hour, and not while they're simultaneously watching TV, which I remember several of my students tried to convince me they could do both at the same time. I mean, it's somewhat of an old-fashioned notion, but I think teachers can share ideas about how they encourage students to do that kind of independent reading, and I think it really helps their growth. So.
Thank you, Director Peterson. Administration, any comments on those statements?
Chair Simpson, Director Peterson, Deborah Bowling, Fine Arts Manager. Director Peterson, I think you mentioned a lot of those great strategies to start with. But in addition to that, we have really found that making sure that our students are reading things that are their choice, to really have that student choice available to them, with the expansion of many of the classroom libraries, that is becoming increasingly more prevalent and more choices are available. Research also shows that making sure that students are reading on their individual grade levels outside of school also helps in building their confidence level. So making sure that they have books that are at their level when they're not in the classroom, and then working on those more challenging texts when they're in the classroom. Also, Tanya Evans has monthly meetings with teachers also to go over some of those strategies with them. So I think the things that we're looking at this year is really how are we getting students engaged, particularly in the content with student choice, and making sure that they're able to access those things both during the school day and outside of the school day.
Thank you. Director Peterson, any follow-up to that?
No, thank you. I agree with you 100% that the students need to be reading, their independent reading has to be reading that's at their independent reading level versus something that's more difficult, because they probably won't have the stamina to continue. I know as a teacher, one of the issues in our school was whether or not classroom teachers should accompany their whole class during library time. And I was a strong believer that that should be the case, because I insisted the kids check out a book of whatever they want, how hard level it is, because that's okay. But also then check out a book that's at their independent reading level, and ultimately in the next week or 10 days to do a book report on that particular book, because I knew that they could read it if they sat down and tried to do so. So I appreciate your perspectives that you shared. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, is there any public comment?
Case for the East region. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Will administration please present the item?
Mr. Simpson and members of the committee, we end this evening's agenda with our regional showcase. This month, we are showcasing the East Region and Humboldt Park School. The leader that will lead us through the showcase this evening is Dr. Dinkins, who's the regional superintendent for the East Region. And we also have with us that will also help Dr. Dinkins out tonight is the principal of Humboldt Park, Mr. Eric Connors. After they have gone through the presentation, we will be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Dr. Dinkins.
Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. My name is Dr. Tony Dinkins, and I am the proud regional superintendent for the East Region. I am honored to bring to you our regional showcase tonight and to share with you the many wonderful things that are happening in our schools. Our spotlight school, as Dr. Posley mentioned this evening, is Humboldt Park School, and I am joined here tonight by the principal, Mr. Eric Connor. In the East Region, our work is connected to and intertwined with each of the district's 5 priorities for success. It is always our goal to ensure that each priority is used to inform the direction of our work and to ultimately improve student achievement and growth. The East Region boasts 24 dynamic schools that work each day to be intentional, child-centered learning environments. We serve approximately 10,136 students, with 11.9% being English language learners, 19.7% identified as special education students, and 73.1% classified as economically disadvantaged. The East Region is proud of its diversity. In our region, approximately 39.1% of our students are African American, 22.4% are Hispanic, 23.3% are white, 0.6% are identify as American Indian, and 9.1% are Asian. During the 2020-21 school year, the East Region schools worked hard to provide quality teaching and learning experiences for our students. On the state report card, 2 schools significantly exceeded expectations, 8 schools exceeded expectations, 8 more schools met expectations, 4 schools met few expectations, 1 school did fail to meet expectations, and 1 school needed an alternative rating. What has contributed to our school's growth and success is a focus on ambitious instruction, also ensuring student tasks are complete and rigorous for students, and an intentional focus on student discourse. Our school leaders and their staff work to ensure implementation of school improvement strategies listed in their SIP, and the school learning teams get involved to support their colleagues so that they are successful and that teachers feel supported. This school year, the East Region's STAR data for fall to spring showed a great deal of student growth. In early literacy, the percentage of students significantly above target grew from 9.2% in the fall to 20.1% in the spring. In reading, the percentage of students significantly above target grew from 11.3% in the fall to 12% in the spring. And in the area of math, the percentage of students significantly above target grew from 10.8% in the fall to 15.2% in the spring. We are proud of the growth our students demonstrated and the diligence our teachers displayed to make this growth occur. At this time, I would like to introduce our Spotlight School Principal, Mr. Eric Connor. He would like to highlight some of the terrific things happening at his school. Mr. Connor?
Thank you, Dr. Dinkins. Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. My name is Eric Connor, and I am the proud principal of Humboldt Park KH School. I certainly appreciate this opportunity to share with everyone some of the offerings Humboldt provides for our students. We have a saying here at Humboldt, rooted in the community, educating the world. Teachers, students, families, and administration developed an agreed upon set of core values to align our actions with our vision. Those values are growth mindset, accountability, collaboration, equity, and data-driven decision-making. Humboldt is a K-8 school located a block south of Humboldt Park in the Bayview community. We currently serve approximately 580 students. Our student population includes 44% English language learners. We are one of the most diverse schools in the Milwaukee County, with families from Africa, Asia, Central and South America, Eastern Europe, and the Middle East. On a typical day at Humboldt, you may hear conversations in English, Somali, Burmese, Arabic, Malay, Karen, Spanish, Hmong, Sino-Tibetan, Swahili, and Bulgarian. We are truly a microcosm of the world. Dr. Rick DeForest stated, a professional learning community is a collaboration of teachers, administrators, parents, and students who work together to seek out best practices, test them in the classroom, continuously improve processes, and focus on results. At Humboldt, we have school-based teams as well as grade-level teams that are facilitated by teachers. Teams establish norms and are responsible for an area of the school improvement plan. Using the Plan, Do, Study, Act model, teachers and support staff prioritize standards and use formative assessments to inform teaching and learning. This systematic process engages each member of the organization in an ongoing cycle of continuous improvement. The results of this process are evident in the 21-22 fall to spring STAR data for Humboldt. In early lit, we saw 4.7% growth. In reading, we saw 1.9% growth. And in math, we saw 7% growth. Catering to the whole child is valued at Humboldt. We have found that students that participate in extracurricular activities hone their communication skills, expand their creative thinking, and learns how to work effectively with their peers. For example, students that are a part of the environmental club gets energized about taking care of the earth, helping their community, and participate in the design of outdoor instructional spaces. Staff members also serve as coaches for team sports such as flag football, basketball, soccer, volleyball, cross country. And through community partnerships such as Catholic Charities, select students that have recently arrived in the United States are provided in-home tutoring service. We are really proud of the accomplishment and growth that students and staff have made throughout the year. Humboldt continues to have the highest percentage of students completing 50+ minutes in iReady personalized instruction for the months of February, March, and April, at 75% for reading and 78% for math. 4th and 5th grade students were the first place winners of the 2022 Floor Engineering Challenge, consisting of 11,000 students from 26 countries who built a range of paper ball runs. The goal was to create a ball run with the longest travel time. Humboldt had a huge representation at the 2022 MPS Spelling Bee, where Joseph Lanigan was the grade 4 winner, Rachel Lar was the grade 6 winner, Peace Peter was the 3rd place finisher for grade 7, and Rogina Farouk was the grade 8 winner. Student council at Humboldt is conducted by students and supervised by teachers. The purpose is to give students an opportunity to develop leadership by organizing and carrying out school activities. I am proud to say that this year, our student council raised $1,000, which was donated to the Combined Giving campaign.
In the East region, we continue to work on areas we can grow in. We are a very competitive group of educators, so we believe in continuous improvement. We want to increase our attendance rate in each of our schools this upcoming school year. We also have plans to focus on expanding our student enrollment effort. We know and understand that schools flourish when they are at full capacity. We will continue to focus on academic achievement by providing rigorous tasks for students and continue to improve our schools' climate and culture. We are confident that with these intentional strategies, we can continue to make great strides. Thank you again tonight for the opportunity to showcase the East Region. And now we are ready and open to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much for that report. Do committee members wish to make questions, wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Leonard.
Okay. First of all, it's nice to see I spent my first half a year or so at Humboldt Park when I was subbing at MPS when I first started out. So I can see that it still carries the same kind of attendance. It's good to see all of that. I guess I'm curious. Not so much I guess a question. What is probably the greatest challenge for your school with that large, diverse population? I'm just curious, what are your greatest challenges for getting that academic achievement?
Sure, Mr. Connor.
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, I will say that one of my biggest challenges at the school is just catering to the diverse population that we have. The multiple languages that students are coming to Humboldt Park with creates some challenges because we have to make sure that we are kind of catering to especially students who are new to the United States, for example, and trying to get those students up to speed while also catering to those students who may be in a different place. And so I think the wide range of languages, wide range of education that students are coming to the table with create some challenges where we really have to focus in and zero in on some of our tier 1, tier 2 instruction.
Director Leonard.
And then just also, is a large percentage of those students live in the neighborhood, or are they bused in?
Principal Connor.
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, a large number of those students, I would say we have about 15 buses that do bring students to and from the school. I would say of that, I would say about 20% of our population probably would fall within that category of English language learners. We do have a huge number of families that live in the area and do take advantage of walking to school, but we do have a number of students who are bused since we are a citywide school.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Director Leonard. Madam Secretary, is there any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you. I see Director Garcia's hand.
Yes, I just wanted to thank Dr. Dinkins and Principal Connor for sharing with us today. And I'm happy to see that we're hearing from a school that has very different challenges than the one that we usually hear and is highlighted. So it's great to hear that perspective of a school that is really doing their best to challenge the various needs of when I look at the percentage of English language learners, that's more than 40%. So I can imagine the challenges that comes not only with what happens inside the classroom, but the parent involvement, and just the family engagement portion of things. And to see that the school is faring really well in regards to standardized testings or areas that we're looking at for metrics, that's significant work that needs to be celebrated. So kudos to Mr. Connor and your staff for just stretching and challenging that. And one last thing, congrats on the almost sweep at the MPS spelling bee. That again just says like the intentionality in regards to the power of language, and we're seeing that manifested in ways that that's definitely something that spelling bee has been very much celebrated, within MPS, the fact that, so many collaborators, it was a great way to build, that MPS pride we always talk about. So the fact that there's so many winners that are tied to your school, Mr. Connor, I think that's awesome. So thank you.
Indeed. Thank you, Director Garcia. Director Peterson.
Yeah, I'll just echo what Director Garcia said and just ask a question of the English language learners who complete 8th grade at your school. Do you have a sense of where they attend high school?
Principal Connor.
Chair Simpson, members of the committee. We have students who, it varies, but right now we have a large number of students that go to Bayview, Pulaski, Bradley Tech, Reagan, Rufus King. So it varies. It does vary. But I do know that a lot of our 8th graders are really walking around proud, sharing some of those schools that they're going to be attending next year.
Great, thank you.
How cute is that? Director Peterson, any follow-up?
No, thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Okay, yeah, thank you so much for sharing the highlights of your school, and thank you for this report. Really a nice way to end our evening tonight. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Madam Chair, that was the last item on tonight's agenda.
Thank you, everybody. We had some really informative reports. Thank you for the depth of the conversation and all of the presenters tonight. It was a big meeting with a lot of depth, so greatly appreciate all of that. There being no further business before the committee, this meeting is adjourned. Good night, everybody.